check, check. Check, check, check. After 5 weeks, 38 days, and 32 baseball games, it all comes down to this. One final home stretch for a shot at the CCBL playoffs here in 2021. And for the Harwich Mariners, that journey begins right here, right now, in the friendly confines of White House Field. Hello, everybody, and welcome into the broadcast booth. I'm Tyler Henry, joined today by Tim Foley. And the Mariners have an opportunity to eliminate the first team who could potentially be walking home early here in the Eastern Division. It's a date with the Chatham Anglers, a team that typically sits atop the Eastern Division. This season, however, has not been the typical sort for Chatham. They find themselves in the basement, and with anything shy of a victory today, the Anglers will be the first team in the East sent home, while Harwich looks to survive and advance. Tim, welcome in. Should be a good one today, and tell you what, there is something to be said for Chatham being in a bit of a down year this year, but you know when a team has their back against the wall like this, you're going to get the best version of that team.
No, everyone's going to be fighting hard all game long. You should never expect that in a shutdown game and at the back end of a summer ball season that anyone's going to roll over and give you a win. Harwich needs to come out, pitch an excellent game today, have some good fielding, and bring the bats in order to help secure their spot in the playoffs and send Chatham home.
We'll talk plenty more about the Eastern Conference playoff race. We'll also talk about what's going on in the West. But right now, let's take a look at the Chatham Anglers lineup that represents the last hope for this team. And, well, they're getting to work here early. This ball's driven out into the gap by Danny Soretti. That'll one-hop the fence. It's going to be picked up by Press Cavanaugh. He'll throw it in, not nearly in time. And on the first pitch of the day, Danny Soretti leads things off here with a double. We mentioned any team with their backs against the wall is a dangerous team indeed, and it's shaping up to look like that for this Chatham team. Take a look at the lineup. Mentioned Danny Soretti, who will now be standing on second. He plays second base. He'll be followed in the lineup by shortstop Josh Rivera, third baseman Nolan McLean, left fielder Garrett Martin, and first baseman Lyle Miller-Green. In the sixth hole, it's DH Max Romero Jr., then center field Jake DeLeo, right fielder Matt Hogan, and catcher Dom Temez rounds out your starting lineup for Chatham today. It's Josh Rivera standing in now with a runner in scoring position, just one pitch into this game for the Mariners hurler here in Spencer Giesing. The lefty's offering is in there for a called strike. And right away, I mean, attacking here early, that seems to be kind of the mentality for Chatham. And they've found themselves down to this Mariners team a number of times this year. Tim, they are really, really trying not to fall behind in this one.
It's been early, too, that Harwich has been jumping out and getting on these leads. So Chatham especially wants to be able to jump out ahead like they did last time they were at White House, but stay ahead.
This ball's taken up the right side. That's going to get just past the glove of Phillips. They'll go ahead and wave the runner in, and it's picked up awkwardly out in right field by Jordan Beck. A run comes across to score. It's an RBI single here for Josh Rivera, and just 5 pitches into this ball game, Chatham is on the scoreboard. It's 1-0. We haven't even had a chance to set the defense yet, but let's go ahead and do that as Nolan McLean comes to the plate here. Tatum Levens gets the start behind home plate. It'll be Dylan Phillips at first, Matt McDermott at second, Zach Preisner at short, and Brock Wilkin at third. Your outfield for the Mariners looks like this. Press Cavanaugh in left, Chris Newell in center, and Jordan Beck out in right. Nolan McLean, one of the few new faces to this Chatham lineup from the last time these two squared off, takes strike one on the outside part of the plate.
Yeah, you're going to see these guys coming in late here, help fill out these roster spots towards the back end of the season, and it's always important to have these guys contribute because these are guys who need to play.
The 0-1 pitch, just in for a called strike here. That'll make it 0-2. McLean, again, one of those guys who showed up here late. Typically those guys bat near the bottom of the order, but a lot of confidence being placed here in their third baseman to have him hitting here in the 3-hole at such a juncture. Giesting's 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Giesting comes out on top. That's the first out of the day, and that'll give us an opportunity to kind of get you a preview of Spencer Giesting, a guy who has kind of been migrating back and forth between the Harwich Mariners bullpen and this starting rotation, but we've talked about this a lot. Harwich really does need to find a couple of guys to slot in to fill a couple of departures in the rotation, and Giesting's a guy you and I both thought could fill that role nicely, despite giving up an early run here, and now facing off against the cleanup hitter and Garrett Martin, who takes strike 1.
Yeah, he really, despite the early 2 hits given up here, he needs to bounce back and have a clean game because you said it, Tyler. Harwich is in need of some more arms in this pitching staff that can eat up innings to start a game and hand it off to the bullpen in good hands.
Giesting delivers the 0-1. Good movement on that pitch. Cuts back into the zone. Absolutely nothing Martin could do but watch it go by. And we've seen some good stuff from Spencer Geesting so far this season. A guy that'll work with that 3-pitch mix, fastball, changeup, slider. The UNC Charlotte product delivers a pitch that just misses. There was that changeup, 79 miles an hour, and the count goes here to 1-2.
Yeah, and I mean, just last start for him. Last time he was out against the Wareham Gatemen, over at Spillane Field, had a pretty solid outing.
1-2 in the dirt. Good stop there by Levens.
Last time out, pitched 4 innings, gave up just 4 hits, walked 1, no runs allowed, and struck out 6. So that's the side of Spencer Geesting that the Mariners are going to want today, despite the first 2 hits given up.
And again, just 2 hits. One very well squared up, the other chopped to the right side. Has conceded a run here as the 2-2, and he climbs the ladder that time on Garrett Martin, who offers it a pitch around the brim of his helmet. So 2 strikeouts, a really good bounce back on these last 2 at-bats for Spencer Geesting, and he is 1 out away from retiring the side here.
It's a really good sequence from Geesting. Works the count and then decides to close him off with a fastball up high. It's a good move, shows some confidence early on here.
Does almost seem like that could have potentially been a waste pitch, but he ended up getting him to swing at it anyway. Now he'll face one of the guys who's been cleaning things up well for Chatham this season. It's Lyle Miller-Green, who led the team in a number of categories. He'll chop one to Preisner, who tosses on to second. McDermott there for it, and that will end the inning. But not before one comes across for the Chatham Anglers. They're on top 1-0 as Harwich comes up to bat for the first time tonight. You're watching here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Back to baseball here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Tyler Henry alongside Tim Foley as we get set for the home half of inning number 1. Already an eventful ball game here between a team trying to clinch that second playoff spot out in the East and a team that is trying with everything it has left to stave off elimination. We mentioned already that the Chatham Anglers are anything aside from a tie, or correction, anything aside from a win today away from being eliminated here in 2021. Things are much different on the Harwich side. They currently sit in that second of 2 playoff spots in the East, and it's a pretty simple proposition for the Mariners the rest of the way. Tim, you've got 6 games remaining. You win 2, and you're in.
It seems like at this point, if you're Harwich, your focus isn't so much on securing that second playoff spot because you have to like your odds to win 2 games over the course of the next 6. It's more about trying to chase down Brewster in that top spot. And winning today goes a long way towards that, but even more so is the home-and-home doubleheader that these 2 teams have tomorrow and Sunday. At Stony Brook tomorrow, back at White House on Sunday. So to be able to pick up both of those games tomorrow will be big, but it has to start with winning today here and trying to keep pace with Brewster, whether or not they're able to win today against Bourne.
Yep, no doubt about it. More than likely, that's going to set the order for who gets home field throughout the course of the postseason. But it all starts right here, as you mentioned. Let's take a look at the Harwich Mariners lineup today. Press Kavanaugh steps to the plate now. He'll lead things off playing left field, followed by catcher Tatum Levens, third baseman Brock Wilkin. First baseman Dylan Phillips is your cleanup batter today. In the 5-hole, DH Carter Putz, followed by center fielder Chris Newell. That's a storyline. We'll talk a little bit more about that as this one goes on. And your bottom 3 in the order today, right fielder Jordan Beck, shortstop Zach Preisner, and second baseman Matt McDermott, as the first pitch is not across here. That'll miss for ball 1. The opposing pitcher for the Chatham A's is Cade Winquist, a late addition to this lineup card. Originally He was not the man slated to pitch today, but they decide to bring him in here, seemingly at the last minute, maybe to throw the Mariners off their rhythm. And Harwich will now face off against the righty for the A's. Skips this one in the dirt. Count goes to 2-1.
And if you're Harwich, you have to be, antsy to get at this guy. This is another game where Chatham has thrown somebody who really has minimal Cape League experience at them. And these Harwich bats, they have been here really all season long, so Harwich is going to look to get out on top of this guy as soon as they can.
Hoping that they can lead things off with something here with Press Kavanaugh, who swings at the next pitch he sees and gets under it, sends it out to left field. Plenty of time to settle under it, look up, and make the catch for Martin, and that is one away. That'll bring up Tatum Levens. Let's go ahead and take a little bit of a closer look here at Cade Winquist. He is 1-0 so far this season. He does have 14 innings pitched through 6 games, and he has looked awfully good in those games. He has a 1.8 ERA, 17 strikeouts to only 6 walks, and again, every game is must-win for the Anglers. Any loss the rest of the way will eliminate them from playoff contention. A couple other ways that could happen as well. They're really hoping for a nightmare scenario for a couple of other teams to secure that second playoff spot. As this first pitch to Levens misses, but again, Winquist is the guy that they've gone with, and you look at his numbers, certainly does feel like they've got the right arm out there in a must-win ball game.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have this guy out. You want to keep going through your rotation, but this is an important team to be facing off against with Winquist.
This ball is swung on and taken foul down that left field line. That'll make it a 1-2 count. That'll give us an opportunity here to set the defense for this Chatham team. Temez gets the start behind the dish. It'll be Lyle Miller-Green at first, Danny Soretti at second, Rivera at short, McLean at third. Martin gets the start out in left, Hogan in right, and Chase DeLeo in center field. Next pitch to Levens misses up and in. Count goes to 2-1. That call coming in here from home plate umpire Rick Emerson. 2-1. That pitch across for a strike. It'll even the count at 2-2. Emerson gets the start behind the plate as your crew chief tonight. Jim Fonseca starts over at first. Mickey Garcia, your third base umpire today. 2-2 from Winquist. Rocketed right into the glove of Rivera. 2 away.
And just some unfortunate breaks here off the bat for Harwich. Got a pretty good piece of that one from Levens. Send that out over towards short, but a pretty slow-moving liner over towards Rivera at short, so easy for him to handle. And now you got 2 out, nobody on for Wilkin.
Yep, Wilkin trying to get something started here for the Harwich Mariners. It is Red Shirt Friday, so Harwich rocking the classic reds with the Cape Cod baseball across the front, white numerals in the back, no trim on those. Still rocking the home cream pants, red stirrups, red hats for the, or correction, camo hats for the Harwich Mariners today. Chatham comes out in their road gray pants with the blue pinstripe, blue jerseys, white letters trimmed in red, red numbers trimmed in white. Next pitch misses to Wilkin, count goes to 2-0. We've seen this movie a couple of times, Tim. Pitchers not exactly eager to start filling up the strike zone on a guy like Brock Wilkin.
No, exactly. I mean, how many at-bats have we seen this season where it opens up at 3-0, 3-1, and Wilkin's able to just play around with the at-bat? He either gets walked, or when they finally throw it over the pitch, he sends it over the fence in the outfield. That
could certainly help the Mariners here, as finally he will get a strike. Fastball coming in at 93. And the count now goes to 2-1.
No, it's an important pitch there from Winquist. You have to get it over the plate. Like we just mentioned, you can't fall behind 3-0 against Wilkin.
And he did not, trying to even the count here. Wilkin will foul it away and do it for him, so the count goes here to 2-2. We'll have a chance on the other side of the break here after this inning, or potentially after this at bat by Brock Wilkin, to take a closer look at what's going on in the East. Again, only 1 week left in action for the 2021 CCBL season, an abbreviated 40-game season, as the 2-2 is fouled back to the Harwich dugout, and that has kind of made every game feel a little bit more critical this year. You're down a fifth of the usual season length, and you only have half of the playoff teams. It really has been kind of a fun sprint this year in the CCBL.
Yeah, there's been a lot of urgency, but it's good in a lot of ways. One in particular is you'll often see pitch counts start to affect teams a lot, and you'll see it more in a 50-game season than I think we have been seeing here in this 40-game season.
Which is good, because ultimately you're going to have more guys sticking around for all of these playoff teams to make the final push next week when the playoffs get started. So good to see everybody at full strength. You don't have those teams like Chatham, this very Chatham team back in 2019 that was just a husk of their former selves by the time the postseason came along. That's ball 4 to Wilkin, and he will walk his way aboard. First man on, it's Wilkin with a walk, and that'll bring up Dylan Phillips.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have we said this for opposing pitchers facing off against this heart of the Mariners lineup? Pick your poison. You walk Brock Wilkin, you have Dylan Phillips coming up right behind him, and then Carter Putz coming up right behind him. So this is a very difficult part of the lineup to get through, one of the most difficult in the Cape. We'll see how Winquest handles Phillips here.
Very much an out of the frying pan into the fire situation for Winquest. Does have 2 away though, just looking for 1 more out to put this inning to bed. First pitch to Phillips, he's swinging, pops this up, back to the berm along that left-hand side here at White House Field. And elimination game or no elimination game, we've seen good attendance throughout the course of the CCBL season. Good crowd on hand here at White House Field today. A beautiful day for baseball conditions, about 80 degrees, partly cloudy. Just feels right. We finally got baseball weather back here at the tail end of the CCBL season.
Yeah, it really is just great to be able to see this skyline like this. Rained a little bit pregame, but all dry now.
0-1 to Phillips. Taken into center field. That will have a chance to fall, but it's going to be caught on the slide by DeLeo in center, and that will end the first. Still a 1-0 lead for the Chatham Anglers. When we come back, you're watching here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Back to baseball here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Tyler Henry alongside Tim Foley as we get set for inning number 2. It'll be Max Romero Jr., Jake DeLeo, and Matt Hogan due up here for the Anglers, who lead it 1-0, facing off against Spencer Geesting for a second inning. But this will give us an opportunity to talk a little bit more about what's going on in the East. We've talked about it all season long. The West definitely, while it's interesting for that second playoff spot, Bourne clinched what seems like forever ago. The Hyannis Harbor Hawks were eliminated from playoff contention a couple days ago. Things are not so simple here in the East. And you and I know, as we've got our trigonometry notes on our scorebooks right now, a lot of numbers floating around, but we figured everything up. So this Harwich Mariners team, the magic number on wins is now 2. We talked about that earlier as the first pitch will miss for a ball here to Max Romero Jr. But there are also another couple of combinations that can happen when it comes to the YD Red Sox and the Orleans Firebirds as this misses down and away. Those teams could also lose 2 games. You could also have any combination of a win and a loss. The only thing preventing Harwich from having a chance to clinch today is the fact that YD and Orleans will be playing each other at 7 o'clock down at Eldridge Park.
I remember we did the math and we're like, oh, if either YD and Orleans lose tonight, then Harwich will clinch if they both lose. And like, oh, who are they playing? They're playing one another. Go figure. So Harwich, of course, will be looking at that game, and whoever loses it, should Harwich win, will be eliminated. And Harwich, having to play Orleans twice in the next week, you might want to hope for a YD loss.
Certainly, as YD is the only team Harwich will not have the hands in its own destiny to eliminate. They have a chance to eliminate Chatham today, and then as you mentioned, after the home and home with Brewster, if they're not already out of it, they could eliminate the Orleans Firebirds. As this next pitch misses, count will go to 3-1. And that's kind of the other interesting factor in all of this. So if those two should tie tonight, neither one of them would be eliminated, regardless of what happens here. But if Harwich wins this game against Chatham, the game they currently trail 1-0 in through the first inning of action, The loser in that game between Whitey and Orleans is effectively out of the playoffs, as would be the Chatham Anglers. Payoff coming. More of a defensive swing there by Max Romero Jr., just trying to keep that one off of his hands. And he fouls it away to keep the count full. So a full count here to Max Romero Jr., mentioned the DH here for the Chatham A's. And a soft contact liner that'll be scooped up by Phillips, throws on to Giesting, steps on the bag for out number 1. So a quick out there will bring up Jake DeLeo, center fielder for the Chatham Anglers. And these two teams have had kind of a unique run, if you want to call it that. Harwich is currently, if you go dating back to 2019, they're currently on an 8-game winning streak, which is not something you see a whole lot here in the Cape with how often these teams play each other and with how good the talent for all of these teams on the Cape is. This first pitch is fouled away, but prior to the 8-game winning streak by Harwich, there was an 8-game winning streak against Harwich by this very Chatham team. So the two seemingly just kind of trading blows here down the home stretch. As this ball is chopped over the head of Giesting, Preisner charges in, scoops up, can't get the transition done. We'll see how they roll this, but either way, Jake DeLeo will be standing on first.
Yeah, unfortunate break there for Harwich. Whether or not it's an error or a hit, it's just a weird hit off the bat of Jake DeLeo that gets just over the head of Giesting and is a difficult play, admittedly, for Preisner to make. He has to charge at that thing, and even if he gets it in his glove cleanly, transfers it to his hand cleanly, that's still a tough throw to make down to first base with a center fielder and Jake DeLeo charging down the base path.
Either way, it will put another man aboard here for the Chatham Anglers. They stranded one back in the first inning, and it looks like that will, in fact, be ruled a hit. First pitch across for a strike here from Spencer Giesting to Matt Hogan. So an infield single for DeLeo puts him aboard here with one away. Giesting looking for another good start. His last outing was a start for these Mariners. Quick pickoff move over to first, and he looked pretty good against the Wareham Gatemen, surrendering just 4 hits in 4 innings, did not allow a run to come across to score, struck out 6, only walked 1. So again, a guy that could potentially slot in and fill a very critical role in this Harwich Mariners rotation.
And again, you need that because you don't want to start pulling too many guys from your bullpen and inserting them into these starter roles, because you like to have those lockdown arms that you know are in that bullpen and can help save you games should it be tight down the stretch.
Well, and now that things have gone official, now that we do have that in the transaction log, it's out there for everyone to see, we can have an honest conversation about this Harwich Mariners rotation. So obviously you have your top 2 guys, no questions about it. Trey Dombrowski, who has been lights out this season, and Eric Raiselman, who has been just as good, 2 Cape League All-Stars. You had a third Cape League All-Star who was a starter in Andrew Mosiello, as this pitch is fouled away to keep the count at 0-2. He has since departed from the team. So Mosiello no longer with the Mariners. You also had another really consistent arm in Billy Seidel. If you'll remember, about a week and a half ago, Seidel had to come out of a game, was experiencing some discomfort. He has also departed the Cape. So 2 of your top 4 starters now gone for the Harwich Mariners. And, of course, earlier this year, they lost a couple of good guys in Evan Shaver and Nick Sinicola as Wilkin tracks this one over to the dugout. It'll bounce on the back half of it. Count will stay at 0-2. So the Mariners have had 6 great starters this year. They only have 2 of them left. And now the question is, who slots into those other spots? And I think you and I both agree, Giesting could be one of those guys.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few guys later in this game who we might expect could get a start late in the season, you know, one of the last 2 games, just to kind of test these arms before the postseason comes around and see what they have, because there are a few guys in the bullpen we haven't seen yet.
0-2 from Giesting, just misses on the outside part. Count goes to 1-2. And when you look at who Harwich has available, I mean, you look up and down what has effectively been the rotation, the bullpen this year. Cam Schlittler has kind of been in and out of those starting spots. Obviously, you have a couple of guys that we're not expecting to see not used in the bullpen. Is this one also just missing on the outside part? This time a slider. Count goes to 2-2. But a couple of names that come to, or one name that comes to mind of a guy we might see used in that starting spot more often, Bo Keithley, who got the start a couple of nights ago. He has certainly been respectable in his own sense. And then, of course, you could also look at a guy like Wyatt Scotty, who the first time through the order at least looked pretty solid for the M's. This gets away from Levens. He picks it up. He will not throw to second. And that's going to be ruled a wild pitch.
No, I think it's a good decision by Levens to not throw down. I mean, you already did your job. You blocked the pitch from getting too far out of hand, which could have in turn allowed another free base for DeLeo. So you block it, and unfortunately, double play threat eliminated here, but Levens did all he could have there.
So 3-2 after getting ahead 0-2, forcing a couple of foul tips. Count is now full. Good battle here by Matt Hogan. Can he win the war? The payoff on the way. And he will not. Swing and a miss, strike 3. That is K number 3 on the day for Spencer Giesting, and it puts 2 away here in the top of the second.
And I like the way Giesting's looked, beyond the hit that was potentially, a play that could have been made. It was ruled a hit. It's been a solid inning for Spencer Giesting, and 3 strikeouts now through an inning and 2/3, and we'll see how he closes out the final batter in the order here for Chatham.
That final batter will be Dom Temez, who Harwich has seen quite a bit of so far this year. First pitch to him, misses. Levens trying to pick it up, gets a good jump, throw down to third, not in time. Wilkin does the right thing and just focuses on stopping it. And that was kind of an awkward situation. The ball got stopped, but Levens, you see catchers do that sometimes. He had to figure out where the ball was, and it was a bit of a delayed steal, but Jake DeLeo will now be 90 feet away, representing an insurance run for the Anglers.
Yeah, tricky play there for Levens. Like you said, Tyler got lost around his feet, and then he has to pick it up and on a dime, turn and throw that thing to third without really having the time to focus and aim with that throw. So nice job by Wilkin just blocking it at third.
Giesting elects to continue working out of the stretch despite having the runner at third base here. And obviously with a lefty on the mound and 2 away in the inning, Wilkin will not hold the runner. So a sizable lead will be taken. Giesting trying to battle his way back, the 2-0. And that'll miss upstairs, so it's now a 3-0 count to Dom Temez.
If you're Giesting, you want to just stay confident. Your stuff's been pretty good the past couple of batters. Of course, wants to fire something over the strike zone here. We'll see what he goes to.
Plenty of options. More than likely, Temez going to keep that bat on the shoulder here with a 3-0 count. Pitch on the way, and that misses high. So it's a 4-pitch walk issued to Dom Temez. That'll put runners at the corners, and it brings up the leadoff man, Danny Soretti, who knocked a double to the fence. Didn't miss a home run by a whole lot back in that first inning, and now he has an opportunity to drive a couple of runs in here.
Yeah, not the situation you wanted to get into if you're Giesting. Would have been nice to retire that batter just then and start fresh at the top of the lineup for the third inning, but you still have to lock in and face down a guy who's already shown a hot bat.
See if Soretti can find a way to cash in here. Instead of setting the table, he'll try to drive a run in. First pitch to him in the dirt. Good stop by Levens. That's now 6 consecutive pitches outside of the strike zone. Or correction, 5 consecutive pitches for Spencer Giesting. And tapping the bat in the dirt. Soretti lost his handle on it. I think it's the first time we've seen that this year. Did call time, picked up his lumber. Now he'll take the 1-0, and he will swing right at it. Wilkin picks it up, throws the short way, and that's going to get off the glove of McDermott. Everybody's going to move up an extra station with the exception of Danny Soretti, and coming across to score on the air is Jake DeLeo. It's now a 2-0 lead for the Chatham A's.
I get what you're going for there if you're Brock Wilkin to make the throw down to second, but a bit of a less familiar throw trying to get the lead runner out. A bit over anxious as you had Temez going on the pitch, and so for Harwich, unfortunate there as the throw blew over McDermott, and now it's another run across for Chatham.
And I get where you're going with that with Wilkin because again it is a shorter throw to second, but seemed to kind of catch McDermott off guard. And now Giesting is going to have to work in the same situation. Runners at the corners. This time it's Josh Rivera who drove in Soretti with that RBI single back in the first inning. His team leading it 2-0 here in the top half of inning number 2. Giesting's next offering, a fastball will miss high. Count goes to 2-0. Of course, none of the runs that come across, if anything else does come across here for Chatham, will be tagged to Giesting, but that's not going to be any comfort to him. Trying to keep it at a 2-run deficit. Gets this across, count goes 2-1. Chatham trying to snap an 8-game losing streak with the Mariners dating back to 2019. Josh Rivera looking for some insurance. The 2-1 swing and a miss. Pitch drops off the table, and that'll even the count at 2-2.
That's a really nice pitch there from Giesting. 77 miles an hour on the inside part of the plate. Looked really good to Rivera until it just got to him and just dropped.
And he takes so much velocity off that changeup. It almost looks like a curveball coming in, but ultimately it is the change for Giesting. 2-2. Comes back with it again, and he got him. Josh Rivera. Little half-hearted check swing goes around, and on the 4th strikeout of the night, Spencer Giesting gets out of the inning, but not before the Anglers strike for another run. They are up 2-0. When we come back, Harwich looking to get the runs back here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Tyler Henry, Tim Foley, a 2-0 lead for the Chatham Anglers. For the Mariners, it will be the 5, 6, and 7 hole hitters due up. Carter Putz, Chris Newell, and Jordan Beck. We've talked a little bit about the Eastern Division playoffs. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on out in the West. Mentioned there is some intrigue for that second playoff spot. Bourne has clinched a spot. The Harbor Hawks have been eliminated. But right now, Cotuit, Falmouth, and Wareham are just separated by 2 points total. Obviously, points per game is the metric used to determine who does and does not make the postseason, but it's still a tight race through these last 6 games for that second spot in the West.
Yeah, 6 games left. A lot can change between those 3 teams out west.
First pitch to Putz is fouled away. That'll start the count on him here at 0-1.
Although notably, Cotuit and Falmouth, as much as this has been a 3-horse race all season long, Cotuit and Falmouth starting to pull away a little bit when you start to get down to it, really look at the points per game as the standings are going to be judged this season.
And the thought kind of was that they would have a chance to play each other quite a bit. For the most part, that is true. But there are still a number of games that all 3 of those teams will play against Eastern opponents. None of them will be against the Harwich Mariners, who are done with the West. They close out their season against that division 11-2-2. So a really successful interdivisional campaign for the Mariners as Putz lays off of this pitch, and the count goes to 2-1.
And you can really credit to the way that Harwich has played against the West this season to where they currently stand in the standings. There's no doubt this is a good Harwich team, but if you don't have that kind of success against the West, you're looking like you're below YD.
This is taken up the middle, and Carter Putz will set the table here for Chris Newell. So a leadoff single for the Mariners has a runner aboard, and well, here comes a really friendly face. Great to see this guy back in the lineup. Chris Newell has not been in the Mariners lineup for the last 9 days. He will make it what could potentially be a triumphant return as the M's get their 5th and final All-Star back in the lineup. And the question is going to be, how quickly can he get reacclimated here? He will be hitting down in the 6th hole. But if he can get his bat going again, he could be a massive key piece for the Mariners down the stretch here. First pitch to him. He'll watch that in for strike 1.
Certainly would be a huge addition back. I mean, this was a guy who was a Cape League All-Star despite not coming in to start the season, and had just an amazing run before he ultimately, was out of the lineup for a week or so. And so to have him back and add his bat to the lineup is a big boost to this Mariners team.
Of course, Newell, who smacks that ball foul down the left field line. Newell has been out of the lineup ever since an incident with a slide into second base that apparently caused him some discomfort during the 11-1 victory over the YD Red Sox. But yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, his numbers going into the All-Star break, he had 12 hits, 10 RBIs, 3 home runs, 6 extra base hits. He was slugging .521, and he had an OPS of .815. This is a guy the Mariners need to produce down the stretch, as he'll take a breaking ball in there, and he's retired on just 3 pitches. That looking strikeout, the first K of the day for starter Cade Winquist. And that will bring up Jordan Beck. Mariners still working with the leadoff man aboard here in the home half of inning number 2. Jordan Beck, another guy who's been seeing the ball well recently at the plate, as is the guy in the on-deck circle in Zach Preisner. Those two hoping to have some success here for the Mariners, trying to get on the scoreboard. Game in which they trail 2-0. First pitch misses low. Beck will leave it down.
Yeah, Beck really trying to have a bounce-back stretch. He had a good couple of games right around that big Hyannis outbreak he had over at McKeon Park. But it's about trying to string it together consistently even more.
See if Beck can find a way to get aboard here for the Mariners with 1 out. He'll leave this one up around the eyes. The count goes to 2-0. And with that, let's take a look at other games going on around the CCBL. A game going on in the West between two of those teams we mentioned. The Katuitt Kettleers lead the Wareham Gatemen 5-4 at Lowell Park. That game in the top of the 8th. One game that we'll be keeping a close eye on, the Bourne Braves, currently in a 1-1 tie with the Brewster Whitecaps. That game in the bottom of the 4th out in Bourne. Of course, here it's 2-0 as the 2-0 pitch will miss low. Count goes to 3-0 on Jordan Beck. Another all-Western matchup. The Hyannis Harbor Hawks trail the Falmouth Commodores 6-1 out at McKeon Park in Hyannis. And, of course, the game we'll be keeping the closest eye on tonight between the YD Red Sox and Orleans Firebirds. Orleans getting their first at-bats, already down by 2. Early lead for the YD Red Sox out in Orleans. Here it's a 4-pitch walk to Jordan Beck, and the Mariners have runners at first and second for Zach Preisner.
I mean, this is a good-looking inning so far for Harwich, and this is exactly who you want up if you are the Harwich Mariners. I mean, he has been nothing short of lights out recently for the team, as after having a bit of a slow start at the plate. You know, he's put it together a lot recently to go along with what he brings to the table in regards to his defense.
In his last 3 games, Zach Preisner is 6 for 10, 3 RBIs, 2 doubles, a home run, 2 walks, and only 1 strikeout. He has been raking for the Mariners over the last couple of days. And he'll take strike 1 in here from Cade Winquist.
And you'll see that a lot. You know, this is, of course, as we've talked about and as the Cape really is designed for, this is a developmental league. You want to see this growth from guys, and it really is enjoyable to see how Zach Preisner has stepped up recently for the team.
See if he can step up here in a big spot for the Mariners. Looking to get on the board for the first time. Pitch in the dirt, stop there by Temez. Count will go to 1-1. And it also feels big, speaking of guys who are trying to kind of get things going at this point in the season, for Matt McDermott, who stands in the on-deck circle. It's been a bit of a slow start for the late arrival here to Harwich. Looking to get something going here. But for the time being, it's Preisner in the box. A 1-1 count to him right now from Winquist. Checks the runner back to second, and both runners go. It's a hit and run. There will be a throw down to third. It's going to get into left field, and the third baseman got in the way. You see Coach Phillips is pointing. There should be interference. It will not matter, as you see Carter Putz able to come across and score without a throw, and that is going to put the runner aboard regardless of what the call is here. Still having a little bit of a conference, but yeah, Putz got up. He wanted to run home, but he had McLean right there. He had to push him out of his way just to get to the plate.
Yeah, you don't see it all too often, and of course McLean crossed up trying to both keep his foot on the bag and receive the throw coming from Dom Temez back at home. So I understand how he got in the way, but fortunate break for Putz. He was able to break it to home, and of course I think, as you alluded to, Tyler, we likely would have seen an obstruction call should anything else had happened other than a clean play at home for Putz.
And there was a throw. It wasn't nearly in time. So Putz comes across. It ultimately doesn't matter, and Preisner is going to swing through this. Strike 3. That will be the second K of the day here for Cade Winquist. But that's still big because, again, the Mariners, depending on how you want to look at it, may have not gotten themselves into that position. A risky double steal, and it pays off to perfection, as now Matt McDermott will come to the plate.
Yeah, and you said it, Tyler. This is a guy really trying to have some success for the Mariners here since arriving.
Yep, Matt McDermott just trying to get something going. Could potentially be one of those pieces that Harwich uses in pinch hit spots, but he's got to earn his keep there. And he has been given plenty of opportunities. Coach Englert has tried to get him into the lineup, whether that's in pinch hit opportunities or whether he's starting games. He's been very good defensively. Let's give him his credit there, but has not looked too comfortable with the bat in his hand. Falls behind here 0-1. Winquist brings home the next pitch. That'll miss down and away. Stopped by Temez.
No, and it's the same that we see from a lot of guys at the start of the season who end up being here all summer long. Just it takes time to be able to adjust to a wood bat league and have success against guys who have already had reps over the summer, who have stayed fresh, as opposed to McDermott, who comes in halfway through the summer and likely hasn't swung a bat in quite some time.
Right now he's looking at a 1-1. Winquist will deliver it, and that's going to be hit right at the shortstop, picked up by Rivera. Throw to first is in time, and that will end the inning. But not before the Mariners come up with one. They cut into the lead. It's 2-1 Chatham here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back here on a gorgeous Friday evening here at White House Field. A red shirt Friday, Tim, and obviously Harwich out there rocking the red jerseys with Cape Cod across the front. Mentioned that earlier, but it's always interesting to see teams that, especially teams like Harwich, that don't have that bright red jersey come out on a Friday. You kind of do a double take. You're like, oh, that is my indication of what day it is this week.
I mean, it does work for the Mariners because you still have the red stirrups, and red is still very much an integral part of the color scheme, but you get teams like Katuitt, where they have just maroon, or Hyannis, where it's just orange and blue, and certainly clashes a little bit.
Of course, as you mentioned, Harwich does have a pretty good combination to pair it with. For the Chatham Anglers, Nolan McLean at the plate now. He'll be followed by Garrett Martin and Lyle Miller-Green. As Spencer Giesting is back out for another inning of work. His pitch misses here, count even at 1-1.
And from Giesting, he's been a bit inconsistent in that he's looked really dominant on the 4 strikeouts he's had of the 6 outs so far in this game, but he's giving up a lot of contact so far.
We have seen 3 runs in this game between these two teams. Only one of those runs was earned, and that was back in that first inning as Josh Rivera drove in Danny Soretti. But a couple of miscues here early, and that could certainly play into how this game finishes up when all's said and done. Giesting right now working with a 2-1 count, pitch on the way. That'll miss upstairs. Count goes to 3-1, and yeah, he's looked dominant in his strikeout pitches, but he's also gotten behind more batters than we typically see Spencer Giesting get behind. Not a high walk guy when you look at his overall numbers on the season. Giesting this year does have the 13 walks, but he also has the 18 strikeouts, and well, he'll walk another one here. The first man aboard is the leadoff man, Nolan McLean, and he is on with nobody out for Garrett Martin.
Yeah, second time this game, leadoff guy's gotten on, and didn't work out for Harwich last time around, as Soretti ended up coming around. So you want to be able to bounce back within the inning after letting a man get on base for free.
And this is really cool. The man coming to the plate right now in Garrett Martin. Keep in mind, this guy's hitting in a cleanup spot on a Cape League team. He rakes one into the left field hole. That's going to be a single for Garrett Martin. Not a D1 guy, not a D2 guy, not a D3 guy, not even a JUCO guy. He comes out of McLennan Community College, and he's been doing really well here in the Cape, hitting about 250.
And you never know how guys are going to perform. You know, that's why it can be important to just bring these guys in and see what they got. It's because it's a lot of the time these guys who are going to come out, surprise you, and help make the difference down the run. Of course, Chatham, where they're at in the standings right now, could prove to be inconsequential with the addition, but even still, it's important for a guy like that to be able to come in and play well, because who knows what kind of offers could come his way.
Well, we talk about Martin being kind of a late addition. Lyle Miller-Green's been here since day one. He is also not an NCAA guy, out of Chipola Junior College. He'll hit this to Wilkin, who goes back to McDermott, back to first in time. Putt's able to grab it. It's going to be a 5-4-3 double play. There will be a runner at third, but with Maxwell Romero Jr. coming to the plate, just one more outlet to get out of this jam.
Yeah, you take that if you're Harwich. You let a guy stand on third because that double play is so huge. It puts you in a similar situation to where you were last inning. You had 2 outs with a runner on third and Jake DeLeo, and so you just want to be able to field it cleanly this time, play it safe, play it smart, and Geesting, you want to lock in and go at this guy with what you have.
So again, at the dish now, it's Maxwell Romero Jr. Pitch on the way. In there for a called strike. The lights came on right in the middle of that pitch. I believe after Geesting had already released it, but you got to think that's got to be annoying for Romero Jr.
And it actually was, because after the pitch came in, he froze for a second, looked up, took a glance at the lights, and shook it off, called time, had to take a break for a moment. So it certainly might have gotten in his head a moment there.
0-1 on the way. He'll swing and miss at that. Of course, that's one of those tricks that can only be played on somebody once. So the count does go here to 0-2. Mention that Lyle Miller-Green comes out of Chipola Junior College. He actually brought one of his teammates with him in Matthew Garcia, who was also from Chipola Junior College. And you got to think that was probably a direct pipeline situation where he said, Coach, I've got a buddy who could play, could bring something to the lineup, and well, just like that, they brought him aboard. This is going to be taken into the gap in right center. That will get down, and it's going to be an RBI single for Maxwell Romero Jr. Now he's caught in a rundown. They did throw to second. It's going to get by McDermott and go into left field. Boy, Harwich had an opportunity to end the inning there. Instead, they're going to have a runner at second for Jake DeLeo. And that was interesting because Chris Newell had it out in center field, saw a really wide turn taken by Romero, and decided to throw back to first. The throw got in behind him, and Harwich probably should have had him, but a little bit of panic. And the next thing you know, there's still a runner in scoring position, and the inning continues.
And, you know, it is Newell's first time back in the lineup, back playing some defense for the first time in 9 days. So a guy like him, got to think about those kind of decisions. And now a conversation on the mound here between Levens and Geesting.
Well, and Tim, you may disagree. I actually think it's a great decision by Newell to throw back down to first. I mean, again, they almost got the runner, but ultimately the exchange there from Dylan Phillips to McDermott ends up not panning out, and that leaves the runner on second base. Either way, it brings up Jake DeLeo, who does have a single and a run scored already today. The Anglers lead it 3-1 here in inning number 3, steadily pushing along as Chatham has gotten 1 run in each of the 3 innings so far. First pitch, good block by Levens to keep it in front. Count goes to 1-0. So unlike the last loss that the Mariners had to the YD Red Sox, or I should say the last game in which Harwich got down to the YD Red Sox, in which all the damage was done in a couple of innings, kind of just a slow, steady death by 1,000 paper cuts strategy here for the A's today.
Yeah, I mean, just a few times already Harwich getting in their own way with some of these defensive plays.
See if Harwich can record one more quick out. Geesting has fallen behind here 2-0. And this is going to be a slow chopper foul down that third base line, so we'll get a strike back there. See if he can make the most of it. There are a lot of guys that could have an impact on the Mariners down the stretch, but you get the sense that Spencer Geesting could be one of the most important for Harwich down this final week of the regular season, and then, of course, into the postseason. We'll remind you, if you're new to the CCBL this year, or at least new to tuning in, as Giesting's 2-1 pitch is taken back up the middle. That's going to get through, and that will plate another run. Newell comes in, picks it up. He will throw it in. It skips off the mound. Now they'll throw down to second. Throw is there. Tag is there, and that's it. So Tatum Levins is able to get Jake DeLeo at second, but not before he drives in Maxwell Romero Jr. And as we head to the home half of inning number 3, it's a 4-1 lead for the Chatham Anglers. We'll be back with more baseball from White House Field here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Mariners trailing it by 3 here going into the home half of inning number 3. And you just get the feeling the way this game is going, Tim, Harwich could use a couple of runs here in this inning. They don't necessarily have to take the lead back or even tie it, but you've got to keep some momentum going with these bats against a Chatham team that has really brought their A-game offensively here.
Yeah, top of the lineup so far, not a whole lot going that first time through, but last inning you had a run. Of course, you just gave up 2, but it's about keeping your momentum is what you had at the plate last time.
They'll have the top of the order due up to try to do it. It'll be Press Kavanaugh, Tatum Levins, and Brock Wilkin to face off once again against Cade Winquest, who first time through the order looked awfully good. Did not give up any earned runs. He did allow Carter Putz to single. Putz worked his way around with a stolen base and a passed ball, and then came around to score on the E2. 1-1 count right now to Press Kavanaugh, CCBL leader in batting average, who's just continued to find ways to get on base here. He'll take a pitch on the outside part of the plate. That'll miss. Count goes to 2-1. Again, plenty of other action going on around the CCBL, and as the season starts to wind down, again, only 5 games after this, as this ball is hammered out to right center field, back to the fence, jumping up and making the catch at the wall is Hogan. Press Kavanaugh can't believe it, and once again, just a gem of a catch. Takes potentially extra bases away from Press Kavanaugh.
Yeah, that is a tough catch by Hogan to have to make out there in right field. He wasn't settled underneath it. He had to make that catch on the fly as he was backpedaling to make sure he could square it up, stare back at it, and get right in position to make the catch. A really beautiful catch made out and right by Matt Hogan.
So a loud F9 puts the first out away here in the inning. But as I mentioned, we do have a lot of other games going on. We always try to keep you up to date a little bit, but we'll do a little bit more in-depth work on the out-of-town scoreboard down these final 6 days here in the CCBL regular season.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler, you and I were crunching the numbers before the game even started.
0-1 pitched, 11's fouled away. He'll fall behind 0-2. The Wareham Gatemen have tied the game up with the Katuitt Cavaliers. That is now 5-5 out at Lowell Park. Another tie game between the Bourne Braves and the Brewster Whitecaps. 1-1 in the top of the fifth. Falmouth still leading at 6-2 over Hyannis. YD still leading at 2-0 over Orleans. Out at Eldridge Park is waving at a pitch here is Levens. He reached out and came up empty, and that's 2 away.
Not the inning you want if you're Harwich, this top of the lineup who you've known to be dangerous all season long. Through the first time and now 2/3, 0-for-4 with just a walk across Kavanaugh, Levens, and we'll see what Wilkin does here.
As Wilkins strides to the plate, quick update, Katuitt has just taken a 6-5 lead on a squeeze play. And you'll see a lot more small ball start to get played here down the stretch as well as teams understand that every run is critical. See some guys stop swinging for the fences. One guy that will probably not stop swinging for the fences, and I'm sure we'll come up with at least 1 or 2 more before the end of the year, is the guy at the plate right now in Brock Wilkin.
Yeah, and why wouldn't he stop? Just keep doing what's given him success all season long. It's gotten to a good spot, and it's gotten his team in a great spot.
1-0 to Wilkin. Checked his swing. Did he go? Looks like he did. So the count will even here at 1-1. And even when he doesn't get underneath the ball and send it over the fence or out in a gap somewhere, we've seen times where he'll smash a ball so hard to the left side that whoever's responsible for trying to pick it up just can't handle it. And Wilkins aboard with an infield single or reaches on an air.
Yeah, I mean, just having that kind of power that can just overwhelm infielders is such a gift to have. And Brock Wilkin really utilizes that to the best of his ability.
2-1 on the way from WinQuest. That'll miss low. Count goes to 3-1 here on a guy who has already reached on 1 walk today. First time through the order, WinQuest, 2 walks, 1 hit, and 2 strikeouts. Picked up his 3rd strikeout just 1 batter ago against Tatum Levens, looking for a quick 1-2-3 inning. And he might get it here as Wilkin chops this to second. Falling is Soretti, but he's able to collect himself and throw to first in time to make it the first 1-2-3 inning on either side here in this game. It's still a 4-1 lead for Chatham when we come back. To the 4th we go here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Back to baseball here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Tyler Henry alongside Tim Foley. Fans, Curry College is where you go to become anything you want. Curry prepares students to engage in successful careers with learning beyond the classroom. Explore undergraduate programs, NCAA Division III athletics, and continuing education and graduate studies, including 5th-year master's programs at www.curry.edu. As we get set for the 4th inning, I'll turn it over to my broadcast partner, Tim Foley, for the next 3 innings of play-by-play. Tim, take it away.
Thank you, Tyler. As we look now to the top of the 4th inning, Spencer Giesting back on the mound for the Mariners, and he really is still looking for that first shutdown inning of this game. He's given up a hit in each of the 3 innings so far, as well as runs in each of those innings, and he'll have to open up this inning against the right fielder, Matt Hogan. Hogan, last time up, struck out swinging. First pitch dealt to him. That's going to just miss the outside part of the plate. 1-0.
Yeah, and Harwich could use a quick 1-2-3 here. It seems like every inning Chatham has found a way. Again, they haven't had that big explosive inning in this game, but they've found ways to produce in all 3 of the first 3 frames.
Yeah, and you've seen walks, you've seen errors, a lot of things that Harwich is just not clamping down on. A lot of the small fundamentals that are getting away from Harwich a bit here. And Chatham's, they've taken full advantage of it so far as Next pitch was in for a called strike, and now the 1-1. Misses on the outside at 78 miles an hour, 2-1.
And for the most part, Giesting has kept things under control. Only one of the walks came around to score. That was of McLean back in the third inning. Aside from that and the error, it's been just a lot of solid contact here for Chatham in this game.
2-1 pitch over the inside part of the plate at 2-2 now. And again, Giesing, 4 strikeouts so far, and through those first 2 innings, had great stuff on that put-out pitch. We'll see what he offers here, the 2-2. This ball chopped foul just towards the backstop. Hogan just got a piece of that one. Count stays at 2-2.
Yep, and this is where Giesting really needs to knuckle down. He's been good in 2-strike counts tonight. He has more often than not found a way to retire the batter, including so far 4 strikeouts. I'm sure he'd love to pick up a crucial 5th here.
Giesting shakes off a couple pitches, nods, and delivers. Ball will be sliced back foul once again. Good battle here from Matt Hogan with 2 strikes against him.
And Harwich has been getting kind of a taste of their own medicine in this game to a degree. A lot of guys have been fouling off pitches here for the Anglers, and that's something that Chatham didn't do a good job of early in the season.
2-2 pitch. That one's going to miss just high at 89. Count runs full now here to Matt Hogan. Hogan looking to be the 3rd angler to get on base in that leadoff spot today. 3-2 pitch. And that's going to run in and get him in the head. And he'll actually have to take a moment here. Trainer runs out for Chatham. It's going to be a brief break in the action as Hogan's going to have a talk with his trainer.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, you always have to check the guy out anytime he takes any contact to the head. Fortunately for him, it was on a change-up, much slower pitch, and it looks like he'll be okay as he walks it down to first. You hear a round of applause from both the Harwich and the Chatham spectators in attendance today. But yeah, I mean, for the 3rd inning, out of 4 so far in this game, the leadoff man is aboard here for Chatham. They've found ways to score. The first 2 guys that did that, in Soretti in the 1st and McLean in the 3rd. See if they can find a way to get Hogan across in this one.
So now this brings in Dom Temez, catcher for the Anglers. Walked last time he was up, and we're going to have a conversation now between Spencer Giesting, Tatum Levins, and pitching coach for the Mariners, Steve Gruenberg. And Tyler, if you're Coach Gruenberg, what are you talking to Giesting about right now on the mound?
I mean, it could just be something to do with, again, it seems like Giesting has been content when he gets in those 2-strike counts. Yes, typically he will go at guys, but we've seen a couple of these more recent batters where he'll play around, he'll waste some extra pitches. That's not really Harwich's MO, and certainly not something that Coach Gruenberg has preached throughout the course of his time here at Harwich. So this could be something about aggression, but ultimately, I mean, you never know. He could just be telling him to settle in a little bit here. That is, I believe, on the day, kind of taking a look back through the book, that is the 3rd man he's put aboard for free. He has 2 walks, and he adds the hit by pitch to that.
And you talk about this Mariners MO when it comes to pitching, strikeouts, strikeouts, strikeouts. They are 2nd in the league with strikeouts at 284. They know how to get guys to swing. They know how to strike guys out looking, and so it's about trying to keep that message going here against the Anglers. So once again, Dom Temez stands in. First pitch to him misses up high, 87 miles an hour, 1-0.
Yeah, tried to come back with a high fastball that time, but ultimately comes up well out of the zone. This is the 9-hole hitter, too. I mean, Temez has been okay this year, but he has not been exactly tearing the cover off the ball. You got to find a way to get this out.
1-0 pitch is inside the zone. Count now 1-1.
I don't know what the movement was like on that, but he's got Temez backing out of the box on a pitch that comes across the white part of the plate.
Giesting, the lefty. Chatham, a team that has not fared well against lefties on the season. 1-1 pitch misses outside. 2-1 now, and really is interesting to see Chatham barrel up a couple balls pretty decently despite the struggles that they have had against lefties, as mentioned. Giesting decides on a pitch and delivers. This ball is going to be pulled just foul down the 3rd base line. Matt Hogan bolted for 2nd base. He'll have to go back to 1st. Count 2-2.
And I'll try to find the splits here as we kind of work through it, unless you happen to have them on hand. But Yeah, the kind of the scouting report that we got and some of the things we saw pregame, this is a Chatham team that has not looked good against lefties this year.
229 against righties for Chatham, 149 against lefties. That is a stark difference when you compare both sides of the mound. 2-2 pitch is going to be skied up, hovering just around that Angler's bullpen. Phillips comes over to make the catch. One away.
And that's a big out, just trying to get one quickly and then go back to the top of the order here, facing off against a couple of guys that have seen these pitches well. There is an arm up and warming out in that Harwich bullpen right now. So we'll see how quickly Harwich may elect to pull the trigger there. As looks like that is Bo Keithley getting warm out there for Harwich.
So now Danny Soretti comes up to bat. Doubled first time around in the first inning to open up the game. First pitch he sees in for a called strike. Also reached on an error back in the second inning. Ball skipping in the dirt. Levens has to hop back up in order to make the stop. And heading back to first as Matt teams look to clinch these final playoff spots. 1-1 count. This is going to be popped up. Striding over is Jordan Beck. Settling under it in fair territory is the call, and there are now 2 away in the fourth.
And these are the kinds of, I don't want to call them leisurely outs, but this is what you need for Harwich, just to settle down a little bit here, get Geesting to maybe go one more inning. But a lot of even a lot of the outs that they've collected in this game have been hard hit balls to the infield. They've really made those infielders work, and getting a couple of quick pop flies certainly does help. Now you just need one more out to get out of the inning and keep this at a 3-run deficit.
Yeah, keep Geesting confident, keep his pitch count low as well. We've seen a lot of long at-bats where these Chatham Anglers, they are giving off a lot of foul tips. As first pitch into Josh Rivera, in for a called strike. Rivera so far today 1 for 2. Singled back in the first inning. And struck out in the second. 0-1 count. That one's going to miss inside. Now 1-1. Harwich trying to bounce back after uncharacteristically losing 2 straight games at home against each Brewster and YD. Runner goes for second. Ball skips away from Levens behind the plate. And Matt Hogan is going to be credited with a stolen base as he'll now stand on second.
Yeah, he got a really good jump that time. Unfortunately, I mean, he kept his head down. He slid into the bag. If he had turned and taken a look, I don't think there was enough space there for him to try to swipe third. But you saw the urgency there for Levens to try to pick it up just in case.
So for Hogan on the season, that is only his 4th stolen base. And this is a Chatham team that they like to steal bases often, as here he goes for third, play at the bag, and Hogan's going to be safe. That is his 2nd stolen base of this appearance on the base paths, and that is not the success rate that we're used to seeing when it comes to Chatham stealing bases, because they have been one of the worst teams in the Cape Cod Baseball League this year when it comes to stealing bases. They have, coming into today, Chatham, they have attempted to steal a total of 53 bases. They have been caught stealing 27 of those 53 times. That is one more than half of their attempts. I mean, it is just a ridiculous rate at which they are caught stealing. 27 to 26 coming into today, and of course with the 2 stolen bases there for Matt Hogan, that rate improves just a bit, but even still, that 50-50 ball, not the greatest when you're trying to steal bases. It's a 3-1 count here. Geesting looking in. Pitch. That's going to miss up high. It's a free base here for Josh Rivera. 2nd time today he'll be able to reach, and this will bring up Nolan McLean.
And you get the feeling, even if Geesting's pitch count is lower, you just don't know that we'll see him necessarily go another inning. Maybe he comes out for the 5th. You never know. The pitch count's nothing too crazy, but he just hasn't had the same kind of command that we saw him have back in those first few innings despite giving up the runs.
And this is, of course, the third time through the lineup as well for Chatham. Only gets more difficult each time through as batters get more and more familiar with exactly what it is a pitcher throws. And so McLean on the day, 0 for 1, struck out in the first and walked back in the third. He'll take a first pitch, just missing for a ball, 1-0. Wind blowing out to right here at White House Field. One-0 pitch, that's going to run inside, and a pickoff attempt here as Levens throws down to second. McDermott chasing down the runner in Rivera, and they will get Rivera. He was caught out as Levens received the pitch from Giesting. Rivera was caught between first and second. Levens threw down to second base, and they're ultimately able to pin the runner, and so that strands Matt Hogan at third. It's the first frame where the Mariners are able to keep the Anglers off the board, and they'll look to bring the bats next time around in the home half of the fourth. We'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Tim Foley, Tyler Henry with you for these middle three innings here at White House Field. Harwich currently trailing the Chatham Anglers by a score of 4-1. Haven't gotten too much going at the plate so far as Cade Winquest has been cruising through these first few innings. First pitch to Dylan Phillips is fouled back. Winquest so far just given up the one hit, the one run as well, and it was unearned. He's also got 3 strikeouts to his name, so pretty efficient start so far for him. He's looked good, and he's been that kind of guy for Chatham really across each of the other 6 games he's appeared in so far this season. The 0-1 pitch, that's going to find its way in. Now count at 0-2 here to Dylan Phillips, who lined out to center field back in the first inning to end the inning.
And it's also interesting because Winquest historically has been a bullpen guy. This is his first start in 2021 here on the Cape, so really getting stretched out well for a guy that doesn't have the experience from this spot.
And Tamez can't quite frame the pitch there. It was a good-looking one, but it will stay just outside. Rick Emerson making the call behind home plate. Count here 1-2. Phillips will foul this one off back to the backstop. We'll do it again. That one just floating in at 77 miles an hour.
Tim, we do have our first final on the out-of-town scoreboard. The Katuitt Cavaliers get a 12-5 over the Wareham Gatemen. You mentioned that 3-horse race for the second spot in the West turning into a bit of a 2-horse race, and Katuitt seeing that right now. Falmouth ahead in their game as well, so those two trying to pull away from the Gatemen a bit here.
A win for Falmouth would certainly help them go a long way since Wareham dropped the game, and that's big for Katuitt winning that head-to-head. As you mentioned, now a 2-2 count here. Winquest delivers. Ball fouled back, and we will once again have another 2-2 pitch here. That one coming in at 92 miles an hour. And that Western Division race is really going to come down to the very last day. It feels like it. I mean, it's just been neck and neck all season long. I wouldn't expect all that much different. 2-2 pitch. This one's going to be sent out to center field. That's going to get back over the head of DeLeo out in center. Phillips digs for second, and he'll get in safely. Leadoff man is on for the second time today for Harwich.
Yeah, and just the second hit of the day for the Mariners as well, but they'll have a man in scoring position, nobody out in the inning, and you still have Putz and Newell and Jordan Beck and Preisner due up next. So good opportunity here for Harwich. They've just got to find a way to cash in like they did back in that second inning, start cutting into this lead a little bit.
The only other Mariner with a hit today, Carter Putz, he stands in now. Singled back in the second inning to lead off that inning and came around to score on an error by Temez as he tried to make the throw down to third to McLean. After a brief break there, Winquist now back on the mound. Steps in, gets ready to deliver. Comes set. And the pitch. That one's just going to miss inside. Putz shields away from it. It's now 1-0.
Talking really quickly again about that Western race. These next couple of days are going to be huge. The Falmouth Commodores have a home-and-home coming up with the Katuitt Kettleers. They'll follow it with a home-and-home against the Wareham Gatemen. So the destiny entirely in their own hands for the Commodores.
1-0 counts. Foul bags now 1-1, and that's a Falmouth team that has put up some fight this year against the Mariners. Of course, to start the season, had that crazy comeback effort at Gov Fuller Field. And then just the other day, a quick game. Trey Dombrowski, Liam Simon, Owen Cody, an excellent job on the mound to shut them down. But certainly, as you mentioned, Tyler, in control of their own destiny. And this final week, you know, you're going to see guys dig for something deeper that they may not have known they had in them all season long. The 1-1 pitch misses down low. Count now 2-1.
I mean, I think it goes without saying, but the next 2 days are probably the most important days in the CCBL. Harwich will play the Brewster Whitecaps twice. That could certainly set who gets home field in the East. And then on the other side, I mentioned that series between Katuitt and Falmouth could be big for setting who gets the second spot out in the West.
2-1 pitch. That's going to miss up high. Count now 3-1. Tried to get him bite on the 92-mile-an-hour fastball, and certainly these next 2 days, as you said, Tyler, it's going to be very important to see who's going to land where in regards to the rest of the season, as it's a 3-1 count here. Putz is going to sky this one up, heading out towards right field. Hogan underneath it. Phillips is going to tag at second. Not a whole lot of speed, but he will make it down to that third base bag safely, and Mariners have a man on third with just one away.
Be interesting to see who lands where. I'll also be interested to see where your stat sheet lands.
Yeah, of course. Our broadcast setup here at White House Field, just on the left side of the press box, and when there's a breeze going, it really gets going. And my stats, of course, on the stairwell, but of course, thanks to our ever-professional scout liaison, Joe McGuan, I do have yet another set of stats right in front of me. Gave us that extra copy, so a hearty shout-out to him as he's been helping us through this season, through and through, and coming through in ways he never even would have expected. So this brings up Chris Newell. Newell struck out looking in his first at-bat back for the Mariners. Takes a big cut here in his first pitch he sees in his second at-bat. Falls behind 0-1.
Yeah, 4 pitches, 4 strikes right now for Chris Newell. He's got a great opportunity, though. This is what he needs, a good bounce back at bat potentially. A run that could cut into the lead just 90 feet away. Doesn't have to hit the cover off the ball as this misses inside. Just has to find a way to put it in play and trust that he can find a way to score Dylan Phillips. Make it a 2-run deficit. And the difference between 2 and 3, obviously it's just 1 on the scoreboard, but it feels pretty monumental if you're a baseball team.
Yeah, because you can have a guy on base and all of a sudden that's the tying run that's at the plate. And with the power that Harwich has displayed recently, that means a whole lot when you're down by only that many. As Chris Newell is going to pull one out to right field. That thing's moving in a hurry, and it is gone. Chris Newell, a laser over the fence in right field. Welcome back Two-run shot brings the Mariners within one.
Yeah, put the ball in play.
Put it out of play.
Chris Newell puts the ball over the right field fence. We wondered, how long is it going to take him to kind of settle in and figure things out? The answer, one at bat. He got it with a strikeout. It comes back, and, well, now you've got the tying run at the plate in Jordan Beck. Harwich Mariners trailing at 4-3.
And, it's not a whole lot of a surprise to see Newell swing the bat like that. Of course, there's always the factor of rust, but you knew the power was always there. I mean, he had 4 home runs across 8 games just before he was taken out of the lineup, as Jordan Beck takes his first pitch up high for a ball. And so to see Newell not only back, but to see Chris Newell back is a big statement for these Mariners.
Yeah, seeing the name on the lineup card is one thing. Seeing something like that is another. And now Harwich has got new life. Down by 1. Beck gets ahead here 2-0. Interesting note, the Mariners this year, all season long, they've only had 4 games, as we'll get a meeting here on the mound. They've only had 4 games where they've trailed going into the 7th inning and come back to win. Only 2 of those games have been against Eastern opponents. Both times it was against the Chatham Anglers.
Yeah, just as that home run was hit, it did feel a bit much of a deja vu moment, as there have been those games where Harwich has come back this season against the Anglers. Of course, most recently, that game played at Veterans Field. Chris Newell with a home run in that game. That was one of the 2 more recent games played at Veterans Field. And it's really important to have Chris Newell back, because not only does he have that power, but we've mentioned it before that he's almost like a third leadoff guy. You have Press Kavanaugh, you have Tatum Levins, the speed and contact from both of them, and Chris Newell, there was a stretch where he was scoring in the first inning of nearly every game, as Jordan Beck takes a 3-0 pitch in the zone for a strike. And so to have Newell back, not just for his power, but a guy who knows how to get on base, get around, and contribute. And that is what he has done. Jordan Beck takes ball 4 up high, and that is back-to-back walks for the Volunteer.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the batter's IQ of a leadoff guy, but he's got the power swing of a cleanup hitter, and that's what makes Chris Newell so dangerous. And I mean, again, you put him back in the lineup, there's not really anywhere to hide in this lineup. If you're a pitcher, there's not a safe stretch of, oh, let's just go get 3 outs real quick and be fine. No, that doesn't really exist with this Mariners lineup. So Beck's aboard here, leadoff man, or not the leadoff man, but the potential tying run on first base, and now you got Zach Preisner, who's been swinging a hot bat up to hit.
Zach Preisner working on a bit of a streak here for the Mariners. Has gotten on base in each of the last 14 games he has played in, and that really does feel like the stretch he has been on these past 2 weeks. He's put it together, and going to look to continue that today. So far, 0 for 1 with a strikeout. Takes the 1-0 pitch inside. Second ball, just missing at 78.
And really, ever since giving up the home run, it seems to have shaken Cade Winquist just a little bit. He has not had the same command over any of his pitches.
Has been the shakiest inning so far for Winquist for sure. And you noted it earlier, Tyler. Winquist, just a guy who's used to these relief stints. This is his 4th inning of work, and he's looked solid through the first 3, but 2 hits, 2 extra base hits in this inning given up.
And one kind of interesting note, there is nobody up and warming right now out in the Chatham pen. Likely a situation where somebody's already warmed up and ready to go, but it does kind of make you wonder how much longer Winquist might be allowed to hang on to this start. May have to do with whether or not he can get out of this inning with his team still ahead.
2-1 count here to Preisner. And once again, Winquist will check on Beck over at first base.
But we are talking about the same Tom Holliday that would pull a starter in the first game of the season for giving up 1 run. And now in a must-win, win-or-go-home game, he's leaving his starter out there for a little bit of extra time after giving up 3. So kind of interesting to see Holliday a little bit more reserved here at this point in the season.
Tactics change as situations dictate. You never know what you might need from a guy, and so, of course, no surprised to see guys, coaches, of course, change the way that they like to try to approach games. I mean, Harwich, when we talk about coaching tactics, has yet another pickoff attempt, and this brings us back to one of our favorite stats about the Chatham Anglers, is that unofficially they have the most pickoff attempts of any team on the Cape.
By a wide margin from what we've seen. My goodness.
As several in this at-bat. As Zach Preisner will walk. A 5-pitch walk for Preisner, as I think more balls were thrown over to Jordan Beck at first base. Nonetheless, this will bring up Matt McDermott. Grounded out to short last time up, but, you know, talking about tactics that change as the season goes along, as a conversation on the mound being had here. We'll have to see if they go to the bullpen. They will be going to the bullpen in just a minute. We'll bring you that stat on the other side. We'll take a short break, and we'll be back in just a minute. You're listening to the Harwich Mariners YouTube Network. Welcome back to White House Field here on a lovely Friday evening. Mariners threatening here in the bottom of the fourth inning. That has forced the hand of Tom Holliday. He has gone to his bullpen. The day is done for Cade Winquest. His line, 3 1/3, 3 hits, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. Batter in now for the Mariners is Matt McDermott. On the mound now for the Anglers, the lefty out of Mississippi State, Dylan Carmucci. This ball's popped up, heading out towards right. And McDermott flies out to right. Beck will tag up at second. Preisner will stay at first. So now runners on the corners here for Harwich, with 2 away in the bottom of the 4th.
Yeah, quick outwork there, but opportunity for Press Kavanaugh, who's definitely due for a big hit here, and he's got an opportunity to bring Beck in from third. Only 1 out left to give here. It would potentially end the inning. So we'll see if Harwich can find a way to strike for a couple of big runs after already getting 2 across on that Chris Newell 2-run home run.
Kavanaugh so far today. He's flown out to the outfield twice in his only at-bats. First pitch is in for a called strike. Carmucci comes set. Pickoff attempt over towards first, and Jordan Beck thought about sneaking home as play was directed over towards that first base side.
Yeah, could have tried. Carmucci's been pretty good this year through 12 innings. 4.5 ERA, 16 strikeouts to 4 walks.
Ball hit on the ground, foul, and count now goes to 0-2 here.
So we'll see how Harwich attacks them. Again, runners at the corners, but you've got Kavanaugh behind 0-2.
Kavanaugh, once again, one of the top hitters in the CCBL at the moment, has been hitting an unreal clip as of late. 345, this pitch. That will miss. It's now 1-2.
Yeah, good battle back here by Kavanaugh. Something he's been doing all year. I mean, he falls behind in counts, but he finds his way back in. It's going to have to be something close to get him to offer. He will foul it off if needed, but not over-eager.
Now the pickoff attempt over at first, and they're going to get him. A sneaky move from Carmucci on the mound to fake the pitch and throw out. Zach Preisner standing on first, so the inning will end. Mariners leave runners stranded at the corners. They do get 2 across on a 2-run bomb from Chris Newell. We head now to the top of the 5th inning. Harwich going to look to play some defense. We'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to White House Field. The day is done for Spencer Giesting after 4 complete innings. That is the day for him. Pitches 4 complete innings, gives up 6 hits, 2 walks as well, and strikes out 4. Bit inconsistent at times, gave up runs in each of those first 3 innings. 1 in each the first and second, 2 in the third inning. And this now brings on Bo Keithley for the Mariners. Bo, so far this season out of Cincinnati, 3.72 ERA across 9 2/3 innings pitched, 10 hits, 4 earned runs, 7 walks, 10 strikeouts. And as much uncertainty as some of these guys have had as to whether or not they're a starter or a reliever, as Bo Keithley whips one by at 87 miles an hour, count here 1-2 to the leadoff man, Nolan McLean. Bo Keithley does still feel like he's still trying to maintain a presence as a reliever here for the Mariners. Not a guy we see as much as some of the other guys here for the Mariners, but with a strong debut really could cement himself as it's a 1-2 count.
And I think my question right now is, if you're using Bo Keithley here, what's the plan going forward? Because again, you've already used Trey Dombrowski. We don't know if we'll see him again prior to the playoffs. There are no probables listed on the Twitter account right now from our aforementioned scout liaison, Joe, and you never know. We'll probably see Raiselman one more time in the regular season, but, I mean, who starts that other game?
And down swinging is Nolan McLean. He tried to check his swing. He could not, and there's one away. And you talk about that. You talk about Eric Raiselman as well, and he's a guy who the past few weeks we've seen him traditionally start the day after Trey Dombrowski has his outing, but Dombrowski pitched on Wednesday against Falmouth, and here we are on Friday, the next game for the Mariners, and they have to go with Giesting against a struggling Anglers team. So, like you said, Tyler, you have to imagine we see Raiselman one more time as the count opens up at 0-1 here to Garrett Martin. But from there on, we'll have to see how starting pitching really is picked up on, as a big swing from Garrett Martin misses. Now 0-2.
And this part of it makes sense to me. You bring Giesting in to try to eliminate Chatham. You bring your dude on, one of your best starters, a Cape League All-Star. You bring him in to face Brewster. But again, I'm going to be fascinated to see who they throw in that the first or the second game, whichever one Raiselman doesn't start against the Whitecaps here in a couple of days.
Yeah, it definitely has a part to play in it. Wanting to save Raiselman for this big home-and-home with the Whitecaps. As count now 2-2 after Keithley opened it up with 2 strikes. It's now evened up.
Hear me out. This might sound a little crazy, but do we see Matthew Pushard make a start?
As this ball is hit on the ground, picked by Wilkin, throw on to first is in time. Phillips makes a catch, 2 away now in the top of the 5th inning, and I don't think it's too out of the question. I mean, he's showing a lot of promise in that reliever role, and, you know, that's how Dombrowski got his start. He was a reliever who gave some solid outings, and they promoted him to a starter role and saw what he did from there. So I think it's really almost a sure shot that we see Pushard get at least one start down the stretch here, enough in advance where he can rest and be ready to be a solid bullpen arm come the CCBL playoffs.
Well, and if it works, as this first pitch gets away from Lyle Miller Green, you could actually see Harwich do kind of the traditional bullpen game. Maybe they learn the lesson after starting Wyatt Scotty. You let the guy go the first time through the order, then you bring somebody else in and kind of just trust that you have enough bullpen arms to go deep enough into a game like that. But yeah, just Harwich is in a really interesting spot. And they'll have to find ways around it. Got to get creative.
Ball's fouled off behind the Anglers' dugout. So it's a 1-1 count here to Martin. Ball hops in out of the glove of Levens behind the plate. It's now 2-1. Martin so far today has singled once. That was back in the 3rd inning after Nolan McLean got on as the leadoff man with a walk. This time around, McLean going down looking. 2-1 count here. Keithley, the pitch. Hit on the ground. Preisner striding to his right, picks it up, throw on to first in time to record the out, and that will end the inning. We head now to the bottom of the fifth. Mariners will be back up to bat in just a moment. You're watching the Harwich Mariners, the YouTube network. Did I mess up? Press Kavanaugh leading it off here in the bottom of the fifth inning. Got up to bat last inning before Zach Preisner was picked off over on first. And so while Preisner's on base streak continues, the inning did end with him being thrown out at first. Kavanaugh falls behind 0-1 here. He'll pull one through the right side. Leadoff single for Kavanaugh.
And that's a great start to the inning for Harwich, and not to be that guy, but you do that with runners at the corners. It's a tie ball game right now. And that has really been kind of the one biggest knock on the Mariners here in 2021. They get picked off a lot. And that's going to have to change going into the postseason and down this final stretch, because that's just not something you can afford in a situation like this. But the Mariners get the leadoff man aboard. Now they have an opportunity to potentially bring Kavanaugh around.
We have seen a lot of pickoffs on the during these games, it feels like, all season, and it has more often than not been against the Mariners, as first pitch to Tatum Levens is fouled up. That'll get out of play and drop down. It's an 0-1 count. Tatum Levens, you know, we've talked about the success he's had all season long for the Mariners in the top of the order here. He has been on quite the streak. Every single home game he has played at home for the Mariners, he has gotten on base. He has been lights out for Harwich as Kavanaugh dives back into first base. 0 for 2 so far today. Hit a liner to the shortstop into first and struck out swinging in the third, so looking to extend that streak one way or another. Another pickoff attempt over to first, and it's really no surprise, though, that Preisner got picked off by the guy Carmucci on the mound with the way that he really delivers these pickoff attempts. The 0-1. Levens fouls it back. Count goes to 0-2. I mean, it's just so sneaky the way he's able to transition his pitching motion into his pickoff motion.
Yeah, and when you have a lefty on the mound, you have to be cautious as that runner on first base, because he can lift his leg up. As long as he doesn't motion home, he can still come across. And the difference between him and a number of other lefties you see with that pickoff move, he kind of throws his sidearm, which lets him keep the ball in his hip pocket.
0-2 count. Levens goes up. He's able to check his swing, though. It's a pitch that just missed high at 87, and Levens thought he had a read on it all the way, decided against it, and count now at 1-2. One-two pitch. Levens able to get a piece of it with the end of the bat. Count will stay here at 1-2. Another lengthy battle here for a Mariner batter. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Yep, we've seen a lot of this year. And especially out of a guy like Levens, who gets on base at such a good clip. These are kind of the It's kind of what separates him from some other guys. He does go down sometimes, but he doesn't go down without a fight.
Another pickoff attempt over to first base, and Kavanaugh will slide in. And we were mentioning it back in the bottom half of the fourth inning, I believe it was. You know, you see coaching tactics change between teams throughout a season. As the 1-2 ball hit on the ground to short, throw on to second is in time. Actually, the ball hops out of the glove.
Yeah, but he hung on to it for just long enough.
He is still out at the bag. Did hold on to it long enough, as you mentioned, Tyler, so Kavanaugh will be out. Levens does stand safely on first, and this brings up Brock Wilken.
Yeah, kind of an awkward transition that time. You still see kind of hunched over a little bit Rivera at short. As he'll stand up now, but yeah, he had to throw that as he was as he was falling to the ground on a ball that had him tracking back a little bit.
Did not look comfortable trying to make that throw. As once again in steps Wilken. Mariners really open up the season. We're not stealing the bases all that much. They were low on the ladder, really middle of the pack, but then they have really jumped as they are now at 34 on the season, second in the league behind Brewster. As Wilken holds off of one up high. Let's take a moment. It's an 0-2 count here, or maybe a 2-0 count as Rick Emerson holds up his left hand. Out-of-town scoreboard. It's a tie game now in Bourne at Doran Park as Brock Wilken takes a called strike. That game at 2-2 between the Whitecaps and the Braves. Once again, of course, Katuitt winning over Wareham 12-5. Falmouth, they lead it over Hyannis 10-5, and YD, they are ahead of the Firebirds. Even still, just 2-1 now. The 2-1 pitch misses up high. It's 3-1.
And that game, despite being a 7 o'clock start, is actually leapfrogged us as far as time goes, which is just really par for the course for this Harwich Mariners team. Another stat that I think they have to lead the league in this year, average time per game.
Ball misses down low. That'll be a walk to Brock Wilken, his second of the day.
And I really like what Coach Englert has done here because it's become this situation for opposing pitchers. Sure, walk Brock Wilken, walk him at your own peril, because if you do that, you're putting at least one guy aboard for Dylan Phillips, who's already got a double and a run scored today. And we've seen him uncork a few.
Got a pretty good piece of one back in the fourth inning. Led off with a double, ended up coming around to score on that two-run shot from Chris Newell over the fence and right. First pitch to him. That's just going to miss outside, 1-0.
Yeah, I can't tell you a whole lot about Dylan Phillips' pregame routine. I can, however, tell you that he had a medium-iced coffee from Dunkin' before this one.
Yeah, you had the fortune of running into him and Owen Cody earlier.
Cody, of course. Cody doesn't seem like a guy that needs caffeine to get amped up for a ball game, though.
1-0 pitch is fouled off. Certainly not. I mean, that is a ball of energy right there.
And that really came out. It's a shame that we didn't have video on the road at Falmouth because that was fun. Owen Cody came in, gave up what Falmouth believed should have been a home run that did not tuck anywhere near being inside the line on the foul pole. Came back, got the strikeout, had a few words for the batter, and then came back and retired the side to get the win for the Mariners.
It is a good thing we do not mic up the players because this would no longer be a family show. 1-1 count. Runners on first and second. The pitch. Phillips looked like he was able to hold up his swing, but it did catch the upper part of the zone. Count now 1-2.
Does depend on who you're talking about. Of course, I don't know that Eric Raiselman's ever had a bad thing to say about anyone in his life.
No, of course. And not to say that Owen Cody isn't a nice kid.
Oh, he's a very nice kid.
You get guys out there, they get amped up.
He is the ultimate competitor.
1-2 count, fouled back. That one a bit of a floater. We almost had. I think that was our best shot at a foul ball here in the press box at White House Field. But
again, I think this is the least possible spot in the entire CCBL to get a foul ball.
I'm holding out hope. We still have a week left in the season. A couple more home games after today. Potential playoff game. Never count anything out. It's a 1-2 count. Pitch is going to miss outside. Count evens out at 2-2 here. for a guy like Cody, to be a competitor like that, it really comes down to kind of the role he's filled in. He really slots into that closer role perfectly for this team. It's a 2-2 pitch. Phillips leans into it. Popped up. Rivera underneath it to make the catch. And now 2 away in the bottom of the 5th.
Yeah, and that one hurts. Obviously, you do have Carter Putz, who, again, has just been a machine driving in RBIs this season. But 2 away here, a bit of a more manageable situation for this Chatham team. And, I mean, again, it is an interesting note. Of the 4 Harwich comebacks in the final third of a ball game this year, 2 of them did come against Chatham. Will they have to wait for the final 3 innings to do it again here, potentially?
So Carter Putz steps in, 1 for 2 on the day. Singled to lead off the 2nd inning. As count opens up at 1-0 and a score update. Out-of-town scoreboard, Brewster has pulled ahead of the Bourne Braves score over at Doran Park now 3-2 in favor of the Whitecaps. That game in the bottom of the 8th inning. If there is any team in the Cape, as Dylan Phillips pulls one out into left field. Coming home to score will be Levens. Going to the plate, can he get down? He's safe. Tatum Levens on his horse gets underneath the tag of Tamez, and it's a tie game from White House Field.
I mean, was it ever in doubt? Carter Putz at the plate, runner in scoring position. That's where he's thrived this year, and he smacks one into left field. Give credit to Martin. That was a really good throw from left field. It almost had a chance to get him, but Levens saw where the throw was coming, slid to the right of the plate, and got his hand on it before the tag could be applied. Good heads-up base running there by Tatum Levens, and the Mariners have pulled even.
And so now for Carter Putz, that's his 13th RBI on the season. Sitting in possession of 3rd on the team, behind only Tatum Levens for the Mariners, or pardon me, Josh Hood for the Mariners at 14, and of course Brock Wilkin at 24. Count here to Chris Newell is 0-1. Newell just last inning had that 2-run shot just tucked inside the right foul pole to help bring the Mariners within 1, and now with the chance here to put them up. Ball on the outside, skips in the dirt. Wilkins standing over at 2nd holds up, and Putz standing on 1st. He will also stay at his base.
Yeah, typically don't have to worry about anything too aggressive from Wilkin down there at 2nd base. Some guys would have thought about taking off. Wilkin stays put. Trust the guy at the plate right now to get the job done, especially after the last swing that he put on a ball.
Newell on the season, just a reminder of his numbers. It's been some time, batting .291. Gets a piece of one that goes back to the glove of Tamez. Count now 1-2. Newell, another guy who's up there in regards to RBI, of course, with the now 4 home runs, or now 5 home runs he has on the season. No big surprise there. Has a total of 13 RBI. Ball just tipped, although it dropped out of the glove of Tamez, so at-bat stays alive here for Newell.
Yeah, it looked like he hung on to that for a second. I was a little confused as well, but it looks like it dropped just in front of the catcher, and that's all that's required for Newell to get another hack at this here.
And any extra pitch you have to give to him could prove lethal. It's 1-2 count. Carmucci still working here. 2 outs in the inning. And he will step off to keep Wilkin back towards 2nd base. Nobody keeping Wilkin towards 2nd. Really no option for Carmucci to really throw back to the bag. And Carmucci not going to like what he's getting on offer from catcher Tamez. Cycles through it one more time. The 1-2. Foul tip once again stays at the catcher. And count will stay at 1-2.
And Newell has done a reasonable job of being defensive so far this year, but he is one guy that has struggled with the strikeout just a bit. You look at his numbers on the season, 17 Ks. He's only walked twice for as many at-bats as Chris Newell has seen. So You know, you can't discount the possibility of him battling his way back and getting on base, but more than likely this ends with a hit or a strikeout.
The 1-2. This ball's popped back. A couple of foul tips in a row here for Chris Newell.
And that's got to be good. The more pitches he can see, especially kind of trying to warm. I say warm back up for a guy that just parked one over the right field fence, but you know, the more action he can get, every pitch that he sees is going to help him get back on the right side of things, get back in a bit of a rhythm here.
No, exactly. You don't want that home run to just be a flash in the pan. You want that to be sustained excellence here from Newell. Wind blowing out to right. 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike three. Down goes Newell. His second strikeout of the day, and for Carmucci, that is his first. We move now to the top of the sixth inning. It's a tie game, brand new ball game from White House Field. 4-4 the score. Anglers coming up to bat in just a moment. You're watching the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back into White House Field. Tim Foley, Tyler Henry with you on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network for this battle of Eastern Division opponents. Mariners again in the hunt for that second playoff spot. A win tonight against the Anglers at the bottom of the division would go a long way. A win would, in fact, help to eliminate the Chatham Anglers, should Harwich be able to increase their point per game floor and lower the ceiling of the Anglers. Leadoff man is Maxwell Romero Jr. for the Anglers. Fouls off the first pitch down the third base side, 0-1.
Yeah, and again, some interesting things going on in the East. Of course, for Harwich, they were really hoping Bourne might be able to pull out a victory against the Brewster Whitecaps, and it seems that it has been for the last, 2.5 weeks. We look at the scoreboard, Brewster's behind. We look up, we call a couple of innings, we look back down, Brewster finds a way to get ahead. They were down by 4 to Wareham when we said goodbye to everybody listening a couple of days ago. Came back and won that game too.
You know, people have been calling Bourne the hottest team on the Cape all summer long. I think Brewster, with the tear they've been on recently and with the way they're ahead currently against those very Braves, I think it stands to be said that the Brewster Whitecaps, currently the hottest team on the Cape. Harvard's going to look to try and take that crown from them tomorrow and Sunday in a home-and-home that opens up at Stony Brook at 4 o'clock. 1-1 count here to Romero Jr. That's going to run in. Looks like it may have gotten him on that left leg. He'll take his base down at first.
Tim, do you want just an absolutely insane stat on the Brewster Whitecaps? If they hold on to win this game, if you lump the entire league into one big super division, Brewster's 2 games back of the Bourne Braves.
I mean, I'm not all that surprised. They've been playing exceptionally well. It of course, it's very impressive to be able to say that. But, you know, it has really been something that they've been able to do recently.
I mean, we're talking about a Bourne team that prior to this skid, they started their season 19-2-3. And if they lose tonight, they would only have a 4-point advantage on the Whitecaps. That's the kind of dangerous, both pitching especially, and also lineup that Brewster brings.
First pitch seen by Jake DeLeo's laid down. And throw goes over Dylan Phillips at first. A bunt for DeLeo that ends up putting him on first base on a throw that went over. So that's going to be an error on the catcher in Levens. That's the second error committed today by the Mariners. And it puts runners on first and second with nobody out in the top of the 6th inning.
And we've talked about this before. Up. Good to see him feeling good back in the box, trying to make something happen.
First pitch he sees, he'll chop this one out to left. That's going to drop in shallow left field. Gets in front of Press Kavanaugh. And now the bases loaded here for Chatham with nobody out.
Yeah, this is huge, and you've got Dom Temez coming to the plate right now, who has not been hitting the cover off the ball. 0 for 1. He does have a walk today, but you got the top of the order looming. And it seems like a double play would obviously allow Chatham to take the lead. And it looks like we got a pinch hitter.
Going to be a pinch hitter here for the Anglers. So instead of the catcher, Dom Temez, stepping in to take some hacks.
Looks like Caden Trenkle.
It will be Caden Trenkle. Trenkle on the season as Coach Gruenberg goes out to have a conversation with Bo Keithley. There is an arm warming in the bullpen for Harwich in Dalton Smith. We'll have to see when he is put in. Not sure how long he's been out there warming for exactly, but in the meantime, Trenkle on the season, batting just 188, 16 hits on 85 at-bats, 10 RBI, 1 home run on the season. Does have 27 strikeouts to 9 walks as well. So not the greatest discipline, not the greatest at creating contact, but you put any guy in any situation and anything can happen. And Chatham hoping that's the case with nobody out and the bases loaded.
Well, we talked about this a little bit, but this will give us a chance to kind of expand on it. Trenkle, one of those guys out of Oklahoma State, and if you're thinking to yourself, man, every year, Chatham with these Oklahoma State guys, where's the pipeline? It's pretty direct. Tom Holliday's son, Josh Holliday, head coach at Oklahoma State University, and a couple of guys that will be joining the Oklahoma State Cowboys, whether it's in the Big 12 or maybe in another conference, you never know, include Lyle Miller-Green, who is transferred from Chipola JUCO, and Garrett Martin, who we mentioned previously from McLennan Community College.
As the first offering to Caden Trenkle misses up high, and you'll see that. These guys who come in from these even community colleges, apart from just these mid-level schools, they end up getting good looks. And not only do scouts recruit these guys for major league teams, but you get college coaches who come in and recruit for the following spring season. And so certainly that the case here for Oklahoma State as Trenkle skies one out to left. Kavanaugh charges at it. And coming home from third is not going to be Maxwell Romero Jr. He will hold up. Catch made by Press Kavanaugh, and his arm in left enough of a threat to keep all the runners at their bases.
Yeah, Kavanaugh caught that on the crow hop on the way in. Didn't have to drift back, and that was important. The shallow nature of that foul ball out to left was enough to allow him to charge in, make the catch, and deliver a bullet to the plate that certainly would have doubled up Maxwell Romero Jr.
So once again, it's Romero Jr. on third, Jake DeLeo on second, Matt Hogan on first. Caden Trenkle just flew out. And now in steps Danny Soretti, leadoff man for the Anglers. Doubled in the first, got on off of an error by Brock Wilkin in the second, and then flew out to right in the fourth inning. A chance here to try and drive in some runs. This one chopped on the ground foul. Goes over towards that Anglers bullpen, and if you're Chatham, you cannot walk away from this inning without some runs. You got the bases loaded with nobody out. And now you have the top of the lineup coming up with just one out in the inning. It would be very reflective of the Angler season so far should they leave them stranded. It's an 0-2 count. This ball fouled right back towards us here in the press box. Count stays at 0-2.
And a strikeout would go a long way, obviously, here. A double play gets you out of the inning. It's got to be something on the ground, so you'll likely see everything stayed down here.
Infield is at double play depth. Preisner McDermott Another foul tip to stay alive from Danny Soretti.
Yep, and Soretti's been good today. Obviously, the double back in that first inning. Pretty good contact on the fly out to right field. Just a better catch by Jordan Beck.
Keithley looking for his second strikeout. This ball's popped up in the infield, should be playable, and caught by Levens in foul territory. So after the bases get loaded, 2 quick outs here, and Bo Keithley one batter away from getting out of the jam.
And that was such a shallow pop-up. Levens actually kept his mask. You don't typically see a catcher make that play with one hand, with the kind of the width of that catcher's mitt, but able to come up and make it. And now again, for Harwich, you've got an opportunity to have Chatham strand the bases loaded. Unfortunately, you got to do it on Josh Rivera, who already has 1 RBI in this game back in that first inning. He's been seeing the ball exceptionally well recently.
Of course, did have that 1 hit. He is 1 for 2 today. The single strikeout in the second inning and then walked back in the 4th. Bo Keithley thought about having a conversation with Tatum Levens. Communication lines were mixed up. Levens took about a step out towards the mound and then decided to settle back behind home. Keithley comes set. And the pitch. In for a called strike 1.
And that's exactly what he needs. He gets ahead here early. Now he's got options. He can play around with the zone a little bit, but likely going to see him go at Rivera, try to get ahead 0-2, maybe get him to foul something off here, and then try to finish him off.
0-1 pitch is a big swing and a miss from Josh Rivera. A nice pitch from Keithley. Right around that same velocity, this time 88 miles an hour. Able to get it by him, and now Josh Rivera 1 pitch away from being a part of this Anglers lineup who may leave the bases loaded. The pitch. That's fouled off at 80 miles an hour. Keithley tried to go to the off speed to try to get out of the inning. Nice eye from Rivera at the plate. He'll dig back in and gets ready to receive. Tie game here. Top of the 6th inning. Anglers threatening. This ball pulled out to left in a hurry. Kavanaugh makes the catch, and the Mariners get out of the jam. The first 3 got on. The bases were loaded. But a fly out to left, a fly out to the catcher in foul territory, and another ball hit out to left field. Keeps this a tie game. We head now to the bottom of the 6th inning. Tied at 4 apiece. You're listening to the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to the bottom of the 6th inning here at White House Field. Jordan Beck leading it off for the Mariners. A defensive substitution to let you know about. Of course, Caden Trenkle came in relief of Dom Temez in that 9 spot. Now doing the catching for the Anglers is David Mendham.
And we know that Tom Holliday does have 3 catchers at his disposal, so we may see another offensive substitution when that spot comes back up in the lineup.
0-1 pitch in for a called strike. Jordan Beck so far today has not had an official at-bat. He's been walked twice in each of his appearances. Now here in the 6th inning, it was an eventful 5th for the Mariners. They were able to get a run across, tie this game up, and then they just had a big top half of the 6th inning where after loading the bases, they were able to unload them by sending them to the dugout. 3 straight outs after 3 straight batters reaching for Chatham. Jordan Beck fouls this one off over the Anglers' bullpen, and the ball just goes through the bare hands of some poor fan out on that third base berm.
Yep, gotta have their head on a swivel out there. Gotta be able to make the catch on the fly. Saw a couple of those at Fenway last night, as did seemingly every other intern on the Cape.
1-2 pitch, hit squarely off the end of Beck's bat. Nice grab made by Soretti. Throw to first. That's going to get away from Miller Green. And Jordan Beck is safe. Miller Green pulled off the bag. A tough play to make by Soretti. Did an excellent job striding over to make the stop, but the throw just off the mark, and Mariners have a leadoff man on.
Yep, Jordan Beck's reached base for the 3rd straight time today. That'll bring up Zach Preisner, and yeah, a lot of good things going on here for the M's. They've got the leadoff man aboard again, trying to find a way to bring him across to score. Potentially take the lead in this game.
So now you have Zach Preisner coming up to bat here. And that last play for the Mariners for Jordan Beck was ruled a single to second. Infield single for Beck. First pitch Preisner sees, misses outside for a ball. Preisner so far today 0 for 1, has a walk. Ended up getting picked off to end the 4th inning as Press Kavanaugh was at the plate. 1-0 pitch. Ball chopped back towards the Mariners dugout. Count goes to 1-1.
This is a Chatham team that in their games against Harwich so far this season has just steadily gotten worse as every game has gone on. So far, they have had, in the first third of these 5 games, 11 runs scored in the first third, 7 runs scored in the second third. They have yet to score a single run in the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning against the Harwich Mariners in 2021.
Interesting to see that. You know, typically you'll see second time through a lineup, those middle 3 innings. Guys typically get more comfortable with the pitchers that are on the mound. So that's usually when you see a starter chased out of a game. As that ball misses up high, count now 2-1. But for Chatham, they've just been aggressive to open up, and it's worked for them. But then it's almost as if the pitchers are figuring out the batters as the games move along.
Also got to think nobody in the league probably doing that great against Harwich's back end of the bullpen.
2-1 pitch, a big swing from Preisner up high, misses. And certainly so, you have fantastic arms that have been great all season long for Harwich. A guy in Dalton Smith, who we saw warming earlier. Bo Keithley was the last pitcher we have seen on the mound for the Mariners. We'll have to see who comes out in the top of the 7th. Nobody actively throwing for Harwich. Pickoff attempt at first will keep Beck honest. Count stays here 2-2.
And when you start throwing out names like Owen Cody, Liam Simon, and Danny Wilkinson, good luck.
3 of them have each been excellent, including both Simon and Cody in Wednesday's game against Falmouth. Help lock down that one. Full count now here to Zach Preisner. Looking for his 2nd walk of the day. For Carmucci, trying to avoid his 2nd. The pitch. Preisner sends it up. Miller Green strides over. And that ball's going to get down foul.
Yeah, plenty of playing space here at White House. We talk about the symmetrical dimensions, but really it is just kind of a big diamond all the way through here, and makes it easy for you. A lot of players, you don't have to worry about anything weird getting in your way. You can run a ball down to the fence and try to make the play.
No, yeah, very good dimensions here. Ample space of foul territory. Not too much, not too little. It's adequate. No other sports interfering with the foul territory. 3-2 pitch. That's going to miss down low. And first two men on here for the Mariners to open up the bottom of the sixth.
Yep, and here comes Matt McDermott. Once again, trying to find a way to just get himself started here in this season. You wonder if you just got to get the feeling he's due for some kind of a big hit.
Certainly does feel that way. I'm sure McDermott would share that sentiment. 0 for 2 so far today. Ground out to short and a fly out to right. It was a well-hit ball. That ball hit to right, opposite field. Just a nice catch made by Hogan. Bunt is laid down. Lead runner at third is on safely. And so McDermott gets on for the first time tonight, and now the Mariners, similar to the Anglers last inning, able to get the first three batters on base with nobody out.
Yeah, and that's great because, again, you saw the infield was expecting a bunt all the way. That was 100% the plan, and he didn't exactly lay it down in a perfect spot, but because the third baseman in McLean was in, he couldn't get back to the bag at a reasonable time, couldn't get his foot on it to try to make it a force play, and now the bases are loaded for Press Kavanaugh.
So Kavanaugh so far tonight, 1 for 3, singled back in the fifth inning. Takes the first pitch called strike, and this is exactly what you want if you're Harwich. The top of the lineup due up. And now with McDermott getting on base, everybody tonight for Harwich has gotten on base at some point or another. A 1 pitch. Kavanaugh, he'll blast this one through the right side. That'll get down. Coming home to score is Beck. Everybody advances 90 feet. And coming home to score is going to be Preisner on the errant throw home. McDermott moves to third. Kavanaugh's on second, and the Mariners lead it 6-4.
Just a blown opportunity that time. They had an easy enough throw in. It should have still been bases loaded, but a really errant throw from Hogan that they let roll through. It gets under the glove of Mendham, the new catcher, rolls all the way to the backstop, and nobody's backing that up because nobody's anticipating that throw getting by both the pitcher and the catcher.
Certainly a disaster of a situation there for Chatham. And it does not get any easier. You now have Tatum Levens stepping in. Still nobody out in this inning. Jordan Beck and Zach Preisner each came home. As the ball gets through, the catcher in Mendham, and coming home to score is McDermott. A passed ball helps bring Matt McDermott home.
I mean, Harwich just scored 3 runs with only 1 RBI. Still nobody out. You got another insurance run 90 feet away. And this is the same situation that the Chatham Anglers got themselves into. Bases loaded, nobody out. The difference, Harwich knuckles down, gets 3 outs. And on the other side, the Mariners tack 3 on here on the board.
It's now a 1-1 count here to Tatum Levens. And for McDermott, that is his first run of the season. Ball in the dirt. Mendham able to skip over to his left to block that one. Now a 2-1 count.
And there's so much momentum now working against the Chatham Anglers. They don't just trail it by 1. They trail this game by 3. Harwich could still tack more on, and now you're going to see some of the names we mentioned from the bullpen start to get loose.
Tatum Levens takes a swing at a ball that skips on home plate. Count now 2-2. And really has fallen apart here in this inning for Carmucci. Did an all right job after coming in for Windquest to close out that 4th inning, but then from there on out, 5th inning, gave up a run, and it has been not an ideal 6th inning. He does strike out Tatum Levens, so now with 1 away, Brock Wilkin comes up to bat.
Yeah, still a really good bat at the plate right now, and if there's one thing Wilkin's been good for, even if it's not parking pitches over the fence, he can hit it to the deeper parts of the ballpark. Anything to the outfield should be enough to score the speedy Press Kavanaugh.
Clutch hitting so important, and rightfully so. The Anglers are going to walk Brock Wilkin. as that is not a man they want to face right now.
Now, are they also going to walk Dylan Phillips? I don't think they are, but it wouldn't shock me. Although I think they probably, more than likely, just walked Brock Wilken to give themselves a chance at a double play, which isn't the worst idea in the world, but again, pitch to Dylan Phillips at your own leisure here.
Exactly the point we were talking about earlier. You walk a guy like Wilken, and you still bring up a guy in Phillips as he fouls back the first pitch he sees. It's an 0-1 count, and then thereafter, you have Carter Putz standing on deck should he be able to see the plate in this inning. Chris Newell thereafter, and Jordan Beck as well, who's gotten on base 3 times today. So it just keeps going for this Mariners lineup. And as Phillips, he'll line one into center field. That's going to get past the diving center fielder. Kavanaugh comes home to score. Wilken, he'll hold up at third. And Phillips walks into second base. Another hit for the Mariners. They lead it 8-4.
And if you're Chatham, you're in a worse position now than you were before you intentionally walked Wilken. Now you've got second and third. There's no chance for a double play. And you got Carter Putz at the plate, who's already got an RBI and a couple of singles today. So a big-time double for Phillips. Harwich has really broken this game open. They get a couple more across here. They're going to be sitting in a really good spot, especially when I mentioned Chatham still looking for their first run against the Mariners in 5 games in the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning.
It's going to take a lot more than just their first run in that portion of the game. As mentioned, Carter Putz now standing in. Big cut on the first pitch he sees behind 0-1. And you have to feel like if you're Harwich, this is a lineup that, despite having its struggles the first week or so of the season, really clicked, really came online. As another big cut from Putz puts them behind 0-2. Really came online, and then, you know, for the middle part of the season, they were hitting it really well. And just these final few games here for Harwich, and we'll see how they perform across this final week. It has somehow just crossed into another plane where they are batting even better than they were at their peak. That helped see 9 All-Stars named to the All-Star team. It's a 1-2 count as the 0-2 missed high.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it could very well be. If it comes down to Brewster and Harwich, you're looking at one of the best lineups in the league against one of the best pitching staffs in the league. That's the storyline going into that if these are the 2 teams that make it.
The 1-2. Putz cuts this one on the ground. Count stays here at 1-2. So just to reset the scene for you here, Brock Wilken stands on third, 90 feet away from home. Dylan Phillips stands on second after his double that got past the diving Jake DeLeo out in center field. Jordan Beck, Zach Preisner, Matt McDermott, and Press Kavanaugh have each come home to score this inning. The 1-2. That misses up high, count now 2-2.
Yep, and again, still one of the most dangerous hitters in the Cape at the plate in Carter Putz, who's just been, I mean, these are the situations that Putz lives for. Whenever he's had guys in scoring position, he has been a lot better, and opportunity to potentially bring a few more in here.
2-2 pitch fanned on by Carter Putz. He'll go back to the dugout, and this will bring up Chris Newell, the 9th Mariner, to come up to the plate in this inning.
Well, again, talking about opportunities to kind of make sure that home run wasn't just a flash in the pan. Newell's had his opportunities. He had a runner at third in the last inning. Of course, he had the 2-run home run in the 4th inning, and here, runners on second and third, 2 away. Potential chance to eliminate the last place team in the East. See what he can do here.
First pitch to Newell, hit on the ground over towards Soretti. Handles it on a roll. Throw over to Miller Green is in time, and the inning is over. But the Mariners put up 4 runs in the bottom of the 6th inning on the Chatham Anglers. They now lead it 8-4, heading into the final third of the game here from White House Field. Don't go too far. You're listening to the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to White House Field for the top of the 7th inning for the play-by-play duties for the rest of tonight's game. Your number one source of Salina Liberty news, Tyler Henry. Tyler.
Thank you, Tim, as we get set for a game that Harwich now sitting firmly in the driver's seat for. They lead it by a score of 8-4, and Dalton Smith will come on. You wonder how many innings he might go, but with a 4-run lead, you get the feeling if he doesn't give anything up, he might go the rest of the way. Harwich is trying to use that bullpen a bit more sparingly as Smith delivers the first pitch. Big swing and a miss as dropping to one knee is Nolan McLean. Count goes to 0-1.
That was a big cut. I mean, that's got to be a confidence builder of a first pitch from Dalton Smith. You're able to get a guy to go down like that.
And if we know one thing about Smith, he's ready to go for the 0-1 pitch and just a bit outside. As that one sails over the glove of Levens. About the only thing that would get Dalton Smith to slow down a bit out there on the mound as he's got a 1-1 count to Nolan McLean. McLean so far today, 2 strikeouts and a walk. Smith's next offering comes right back at him, gets him to foul one away, and McLean very upset with himself right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think he liked what he saw in that last pitch there. Of course, the first two tough ones. First one maybe thought he had something, but second one, nothing he wanted to swing out. But the third one there, he liked it, 79 miles an hour, just left it upstairs, but fouled it off.
Breaking ball in around the hands, takes a big cut and comes up empty here. Dalton Smith checks into the game, records his first strikeout, and he will now face Garrett Martin for the first time today. Martin so far today, a ground out, a strikeout, and a single. This is a Chatham team that took an early lead on Harwich. It was 4-1. But the Mariners come back with an explosive middle couple of innings and now looking to close this one out. Just a couple more outs to get. 7 is the magic number for Harwich. They come out victorious in this one. The Chatham A's are eliminated from playoff contention. Have to go back through the record books to see when the last time it was that Chatham missed the playoffs. As this one is taken near Wilkin, picks it up on the spin. Throw to first in time. Brock Wilkin made that look easy. I can assure you at home it was not. 2 away.
Oh, this is a very difficult play for Wilkin to make. Heading over to his left, and he really didn't bend over all that much for the ball. He was really just able to get it with the tip of his glove, kept it in there, and gave himself the best chance possible to be able to throw that ball over to the bag in time to outpace an outfielder in Martin. A really solid play and an even better throw even by Wilkin.
And this is about what you expect out of Dalton Smith, who goes right back to work, now facing Lyle Miller-Green for the first time today. He's already got a strikeout and a ground out, and he's only thrown about 7 pitches, which at his pace only takes a couple of minutes.
If that.
Again, I mean, we talk about it a lot, but he is one of, if not the fastest pitcher you'll ever see in the league pitch to pitch. Only about 10 seconds in between his offerings, and it really does throw hitters off balance as he gets ahead of Lyle Miller-Green 0-2.
It does. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that he's got going for him is his pace and just how much it can throw guys off, especially when he mixes up his pitches. But once guys get a read on him, he's got to be more careful.
As he will sail another one high and outside. And that's been kind of the one downfall for Dalton Smith so far this year. When guys do settle into a groove, they really do get him figured out. And that seems to translate up and down the lineup. But until then, Smith typically very good in his outings. Looking at his numbers this year, he has surrendered 20 hits. That is the top mark on the team as this bat goes flying back towards the Mariners dugout. We've just got stuff flying all over the place here. Look out, we got baseballs, we got bats, we got stat sheets.
Chaos reigns at White House Field.
In a game that really does feel like it's kind of calmed down a little bit from the Mariners' perspective at least, leading it here by 4 as Lyle Miller walks about 1.5 miles to go collect his bat. I do have some unfortunate news to report if you're a Harwich Mariners fan. The Brewster Whitecaps hold on to win a 3-2 game over the Bourne Braves. So it will be up to the Mariners in this home and home to try to reclaim that top spot in the East. If Harwich can get the victory today, they would still be a 1.5 games behind, which does matter because those two teams have played the same number of games. Pretty simple proposition. You take 2 away from Brewster, you're in first place in the East. If you don't, you got to trust other teams to try to figure it out for you. So Lyle Miller-Green will take this up the middle. That'll be a single. And with 2 away, the Anglers have a runner aboard.
It was looking good for the quick-working Smith through the first 2 batters. Lyle Miller-Green, after a bit of a lengthy at-bat, able to get a few foul tips and sending his bat off towards the Mariners' dugout. Finally got a good read on a pitch he liked, and this will bring up the DH.
So that will bring up the aforementioned Maxwell Romero Jr. single, a hit by pitch. He also grounded out back in that first inning again. If Chatham does anything in this game other than win, their season is over. Perennially one of the best teams in the East, along with the Orleans Firebirds, who are also kind of on the verge of elimination. They could actually be out of it as this game goes on. If Harwich wins and they fall to the YD Red Sox, currently they trail in the top of the 8th, 4-1. That's it for the Firebirds. We could have 2 teams eliminated, and then you're talking about a 3-horse race as this pitch gets by Levens. That'll allow Lyle Miller-Green to move up into scoring position.
Yeah, and that simplifies everything that needs to happen from here on out significantly. You know, you just need to worry about those results over at Red Wilson Field as well as what's going on over at Stony Brook.
And it does get a lot more simple. If Harwich comes away with a victory, you win one more, you're in the playoffs. YD loses one more, they're out of the playoffs. Pretty simple math from here on in for the Mariners if the scores that are up there right now hold. The 3-0 offering from Smith is across for a called strike. Count goes to 3-1 here on Maxwell Romero Jr. Just to close out the thought here on the out-of-town scoreboard, the Kettleers got a 12-5 win over the Wareham Gatemen, and the Falmouth Commodores currently closing in on a 13-6 victory over the Hyannis Harbor Hawks down to their final couple of outs. The 3-1 from Smith. That'll miss upstairs, and it's going to be a walk here, so back-to-back guys reach base after a couple of quick outs, and that'll bring up Jake DeLeo.
And we saw it a bit once. Smith in his last outing had given up the home run to Dominic Keegan of the YD Red Sox. He slowed down a bit more. You know, we have seen that from him where at times, you know, if he does get figured out, he'll slow down his approach. He'll try to be a bit more technical with his pitches and really try to locate what it is he's throwing a bit more.
Definitely taking his time a bit more as Levens will stop this first pitch in the dirt for a ball. Count goes to 1-0. And, you know, again, it was a really good start to the season for Dalton Smith. He's gotten roughed up in his last couple of outings. You look at the Yellow Jackets' numbers on the season, a 6.27 ERA. He has given up the 13 earned runs, 29 strikeouts to 10 walks. As this will get away from Levens, everybody moves up a bag. But you compare that to his first half of the season stats. I mean, he was one of those guys you really did trust at the back end of the Mariners bullpen, and recently guys have really just started to figure him out. It's been the hits that have really come back to bite him.
It has, and once they start coming, it seems like they don't stop. You know, back-to-back batters getting on here for Chatham, and this is a big out to try and record here if you're Harwich and Dalton Smith, but already behind in the count here, 2-0.
Does just need to record one more out, but as you mentioned, behind in the count, 2-0. Mariners do have Alex Rayo up and warming out in the bullpen down that left field line. Smith's 2-0 offering stung right at the second baseman. McDermott traps it, looks to first in time, and the inning is over. So once again, Chatham able to get a couple of guys on. Can't bring anybody around to score. The Harwich Mariners lead it 8-4. Looking for more insurance when we come back. You're watching here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Back to baseball here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Mariners leading it right now 8-4 over the Chatham Anglers. And well, during the break, we conferred with master statistician and historical records custodian Colin Casey, who dug up a couple of numbers for us. Granted, these numbers are going to be a little bit skewed because typically 4 out of 5 teams make the playoffs in the East and the West. This year, it's only going to be 2. But in case you were wondering, Chatham has not missed the postseason since 2014. Orleans has not missed the postseason since 2018. But here's the crazy one. The YD Red Sox, they haven't missed the postseason since 2008. A lot was different back then. This might be the first time in over a decade.
Yeah, crazy when, of course, as you mentioned, you know, the more playoff spots in a traditional year, but even still to not be the bottom of the division in over 13 years is impressive. Of course, YD, very well-run organization. They do have that back-to-back-to-back stretch they had from 14 to 15 to 16, so no surprise that an organization like that hasn't missed the playoffs in years.
Yep. It's another inning coming up here for Carmucci. He'll face off against Jordan Beck, who led the inning off with an infield single back in the 6th inning. And that was a big one for Harwich as they were able to strike for 4 runs. First pitch from Carmucci is in the dirt. And the count starts off at 1-0. And when you look at this playoff picture starting to take shape, it really does bring up a really interesting point. So look at the teams that are probably going to make it. Brewster has the most recent championship, 2017, as this pitch gets back to the screen. No surprise there. Should Harwich secure a playoff spot? They haven't won it since 2011. Bourne hasn't won it since 2009. And really take your pick with the other teams that could potentially make it out in the West. Obviously, Katuitt winning it in 19, Wareham winning it in 18. The one that would be fun, the Falmouth Commodores, haven't won it since 1980. This ball is cranked out to center field, drifting all the way back to the deepest part of the ballpark, looking up and making the catch. Out in straightaway center field is DeLeo, 1 away.
Yeah, it's just a tough break there for Jordan Beck. A very well-struck ball out to dead center field. And, of course, if that's on either end of this ballpark here at White House Field, that gets over. Tough break for Beck as he keeps it straight.
Similar to Eldridge Park at Orleans, center field here at Harwich, 400. Just eats hard hit balls. So Zach Preisner will stride to the plate. First offering to him, misses upstairs for ball 1. That being said, that ball probably hits the highway out at Red Wilson Field.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly clears the tree line. May find its way to someone's backyard. Preisner digs in. He's walked twice. He's struck out once. See this next offering, and it's in for a called strike. That'll even the count at 1-1. But again, going back to some of the historicals here, as the 1-1 offering is fouled away. We talk about how good Chatham is. We talk about how good Orleans is. These teams are typically very good. But for all the winning that they've done in the regular season, it has not translated to playoff success. Chatham has not won the Cape League Championship Series since I was born in 1998. Orleans has not won it since 2005. Of course, this year, both of those teams will likely not have a chance as this pitch misses up and away here to Preisner. That'll even the count at 2-2.
And you see that a lot sometimes in professional sporting leagues where teams that are hot all season long, they'll drop off in some way or another.
This misses inside. That'll fill the count.
Especially when you consider how much teams change just before the postseason. There's a couple of different phases of the season where guys come and go. It's that last stretch where you start to lose pitchers that really hurts.
Big swing and a miss. Preisner comes up empty, his second strikeout of the day, and that will bring up Matt McDermott, who reached base on a fielder's choice back in the 6th inning. Still looking for his first hit in a while, but a good productive at bat. Good to see that from McDermott. Maybe that's what gets him started here.
Yeah, it was great to see McDermott have a productive at-bat and then come all the way around to score. And so anything can be a bit of a spark, and we'll see how he continues it here.
First pitch to McDermott will miss inside. That'll get back to the backstop. As the top of the order here in Harwich, due up next. Quick note, book did close on Bo Keithley. He completed 2 innings, gave up no runs on 1 hit, did not walk anybody, struck out 1. As mentioned on the other side here, another inning coming up for Drew Carmucci after giving up a couple of big runs in that 6th inning to Harwich.
Yeah, it was a tough 6th for him, but I like the way he's bounced back here in the 7th inning. He's had a lot more confidence. Harwich hasn't been able to square anything up, really.
See if they can find a way to do just that here on a 1-1 to McDermott. He cuts right through it. Falls behind 1-2.
Jim McDermott, you just want to be defensive here. You don't want to become another strikeout victim for Carmucci.
Here he will foul one away. He'll get another opportunity as this ball is sent into the night sky, back behind the berms off to the right side. As fans starting to thin out a little bit here at White House Field. Many Chatham fans not confident that their team will find a way to come back. Many Mariners fans probably confident that their team will secure this. Although, again, if we know anything about Cape League baseball, no game is over till it's over. McDermott will watch this go by. That'll be strikeout number 5 on the day for Scaramucci, and that will end the top of the 7th. To the home half we go. Or correction, that will end the 7th. To the 8th we go here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. They lead it 8-4. Welcome back to baseball here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. For the Chatham Anglers, it'll be Matt Hogan, whoever ends up hitting in the 9-hole, we're not sure yet, and then Danny Soretti. But before this inning gets underway, I did have something that I wanted to say. Obviously, a lot of you listening at home have been tuning in throughout the course of the entire season. Of course, many Harwich Mariners fans, but as we understand it, also plenty of families of a lot of these guys as well. Just wanted to say a special thank you to all of you for tuning in, and we have been so glad to be able to bring you these games throughout the course of this season. We know we went through a lot of technical difficulties throughout the beginning of the year. We've ironed most of those out, but happy to be able to provide these games in a format that people can watch all across the country. Of course, know that not everybody has the luxury of traveling out here to the Cape, and again, just glad that we've been able to bring this to you all season long. Tyler Henry, Tim Foley here in the booth today. Of course, Colin Casey on the broadcast all year as well, as Smith's next offering is sent high in the air out to straightaway center field. Chris Newell comes in, makes the catch for out number 1.
No, just well put, Tyler, on that sentiment there. Certainly means a lot to be able to bring that kind of content to these families that are listening.
And we will have another new spot in the lineup coming up here, as obviously Temez taken out for Caden Schrenkel, then replaced again defensively. Now the new spot in the lineup will be taken by a pinch hitter coming in here, making his first at-bat of the day. It will be, and actually will be, the guy who replaced him defensively. No pinch hit. So coming up to bat here is David Mendham. This will miss outside. Count goes to 1-1. Go ahead and pull back the curtain a little bit here, Tim. There's only so long you can stall while you're rooting around a stat sheet looking for the number on the page. As Mendham comes up empty, falls behind here 1-2.
That helps to have another broadcaster in the booth as well, as I was pointing fervorously over at Mendham.
So David Mendham getting his first AB of the day, a guy who does not have a ton of experience in the Cape, as you mentioned. He'll take this next offering, and boy, we managed to go about 7.5 innings before Tatum Levins took a shot. He'll walk this one off. Count will go to 2-2. Tell you what, when this season ends, no matter what the result is, the guy that deserves a break more than anybody else is Tatum Levins, who might spend the next month in an ice bath after some of what he's endured this year.
I was going to say, he's going to have to be icing the knees for the next month before having to head off the pit and get to know his new team, start working out with them.
Yeah, a lot of guys, both on this Harwich team and for the rest of the league, that'll be joining new teams. It's been truly, I think, the closest thing we've ever seen to a rampant offseason in the world of NCAA baseball. We've seen more guys enter the transfer portal and find new homes than any year before. Smith misses away. That'll fill the count here.
No, I mean, it's been a mess, to say the least. Of course, you know, they have the extra year of eligibility and the rule that allows players to play as they transfer. It's creating a madhouse of transfers.
Payoff pitch misses off the plate. That'll allow Mendham to move up, and he will reach base safely. So they elect to leave him in, likely for defensive purposes, but he finds his way aboard, and that'll bring up the leadoff man, Danny Soretti.
So long as people are getting an education while doing it, have at it. Go where you'd like, play the sport you love, learn in the process.
Well, and of course, it'll take 4 years before everything goes back to normal with all the guys that got that extra year of academic eligibility, and that really did just create a logjam of seniors and super seniors. And for a lot of these talented young freshmen that play in the Cape League, there just wasn't a spot. They weren't going to get any playing time for a couple of years, so rather than riding the pine, they elect to kind of go off and find some greener pastures. And again, a lot of good landing spots. We've also seen a lot of guys make the jump from some smaller D1 colleges to some really big time spots. This will miss inside. Count goes to 2-0. Smith falls behind another batter in Danny Soretti.
Yeah, I mean, you have guys who are going back to, at this point, earn their PhDs. They've been around so long.
Next offering in the dirt. 3-0 the count. Of course, one other former Harwich Mariner, an old friend alert, who will be going back for his graduate degree. It's Jacob Polish. And this is upstairs. It's another 4-pitch walk. Back-to-back walks issued here. One to Mendham, now to Soretti. And Chatham's got 2 aboard here for Josh Rivera. And you wonder if this might prompt some kind of a conversation on the mound. Nobody coming out for now. 2 aboard, 1 away. Mariners leading it by 4. Obviously, Harwich in a pretty good position right now with a 4-run lead, but you get the feeling when they come back up, they would like a chance to try to bury this Chatham team.
Definitely would. I mean, we haven't seen a whole lot of dominant shutdown innings from Harwich. I mean, there was that 1-2-3 back in the 5th, but other than that, the Anglers have really done an excellent job of getting guys on, but they're just leaving a lot on.
This will help as a high pop fly drifting back is Phillips. Just on the outfield grass, drifts over, makes the catch, and that'll be the second out of the inning.
Well, you need that. You want to get a guy out rather easily with a fly out like that, and now, while Chatham does have 2 guys on, it's 2 outs here, and, any ball hit in the infield or really any play to any fielder, that'll likely get you out of the inning.
Another update on our out-of-town scoreboard. Out in the West, the Falmouth Commodores complete a 13-7 victory over the Hyannis Harbor Hawks. So Bourne ultimately doesn't get the win over Brewster. Falmouth gets a win as this comes in. Good stop by Levens to the new batter in Nolan McLean. But again, keeping an eye on that 3-horse race right now. Katuitt and Falmouth starting to pull ahead, and they'll have a home and home coming up the next 2 days. Could certainly set the tone. McLean already has the golden sombrero, trying to avoid making it a platinum appearance. Take strike 1 here. I'm not sure what it's called beyond that. I don't know if there's such thing as a diamond sombrero.
I think it's the same scale they use for anniversaries. I'll have to check.
As we get confirmation on that, and, well, he might just get to that platinum sombrero yet. Falls behind 1 and 2, does Nolan McLean. And interestingly enough, if he does get there, he will have struck out against 3 different guys. Smith actually fanned him back in that 7th inning, just 1 inning ago. Did he go around? He did not. Count will go to 2 and 2. So the count stays 2 and 2. Smith looking for 1 more out here to get his team out of the 8th, and you wonder if Smith might be brought on for the 9th with a 4-run lead. Still trying to complete this one, give the Mariners a chance to get some insurance. Swing and a miss. And it is the platinum sombrero for Nolan McLean. 4 strikeouts on the day, and Harwich will take an 8-4 lead into the home half of the 8th. One last chance for the Mariners to pick up some insurance when we come back. You're watching here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. To the bottom of the 8th we go. Carmucci back out for another half inning here for the Chatham Anglers. And other than the big blemish, which obviously is that 6th inning that allowed 5 runs to come across, or 4 runs rather, to come across for Harwich, he's looked pretty okay. Came back, had a good bounce back inning, got 2 strikeouts and a quick 1-2-3. But he'll have the top of the order to contend with here in Press Kavanaugh, Tatum Levens, and Brock Wilkin.
Yeah, it's really going to be an active inning here for Harwich. Should these batters be able to do what they've been doing all season long for Harwich. And you're up by 4, as you mentioned, but you want to be able to add on a few runs here. Feel even more confident going into that 9th inning.
Again, the Mariners trying to bury the Chatham Anglers tonight. If Harwich can win or tie, Chatham is eliminated from playoff contention. 0-1 the count on Kavanaugh. Pitch on the way. Back-to-back pitches. Same spot, same result. Count goes to 0-2 to Press, who is 2 for 4 today with a couple of singles and an RBI. 0-2 on the way. That's going to be swung on and taken to second. It'll be scooped up by Soretti. Throw to first is a little bit high. Pulled his foot, brought it back down. 1 away.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it helps to have, I believe, 6'7" Lyle Miller Green over at first base. He's able to just keep that toe tapped on the bag. I think if that's any other first baseman in the league, that's pulling them off the bag.
So that'll bring up Tatum Levens. Mariners have slowed down a bit after the big 6th inning. They have now had 6 consecutive batters retired. All in order. First pitch on the way. Fouled off here by Tatum Levens. In case you're wondering, there is, of course, one other big game going on right now in the CCBL between the YD Red Sox and the Orleans Firebirds. YD leading that one 5-1 in the top of the 9th. If Orleans falls and Harwich wins, that is also it for the Firebirds 2021 season. Crazy to think that Chatham and Orleans could be the first 2 to fall here, and that would just leave YD hanging on by a thread for dear life, as Harwich would need just one more victory to close it out. Levens, not done yet, knocks a single into left field, and Harwich has a runner aboard here with 1 away.
Yeah, I mean, there you go with your Levens. First hit of the game. Coming in, able to blast one through the left side. Good contact.
So now Brock Wilkin comes to the plate. He was intentionally walked back in that 6th inning. So Wilkin stands in, has a runner aboard in the form of Tatum Levens. Only 1 away here in the inning. Good opportunity for Harwich to try to get even more. First pitch fouled away here. Count goes 0-1. Again, it doesn't seem like the Mariners would need too much more insurance here, but they're going to try to get some, and Wilkin hits a rocket in the left, but that'll hang up long enough for Martin to settle under it and make the catch for out number 2.
I mean, good contact just right at that left fielder. Hung up for not that long, but easy play for Martin to be able to come in and make the catch and still have a threat here to score if you're Harwich and Dylan Phillips, despite having 2 outs and the runner just being on first.
And Phillips has been very productive today. He has 2 doubles, including an RBI and a run scored. So far on the day officially, he is 2 for 4. So Phillips looking for more. First pitch to him, breaking ball in there for a called strike. And to his credit, on the other side of things here, we have seen Dylan Carmucci get ahead in a lot of these counts. Just has struggled to finish guys off. A 1 offering, skipped in the dirt, gets away. That'll allow Tatum Levens to move up 90 feet. Mariners have an insurance run in scoring position. So 1-1 the count. Again, the Mariners looking for more here in the bottom of the 8th. Potentially their last chance to add on to what is currently a 4-run lead as Phillips chops this foul down the first base line, and the count goes to 1-2.
I mean, credit to Carmucci. You know, I mentioned it a bit last inning. He's settled in across these last 2 innings here for Chatham. He's gone quite a distance after relieving Cade Winquist after 3 1/3. So despite a rough 6th inning, he's hung in there.
See if he can hang in again. And this pitch is in. Called strike 3, and that will end the inning. So another strikeout. To his credit, that will end the 8th. But on the other side of things, Chatham's season could come down to 3 more outs. Harwich looking to put them out of their misery when we come back here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back, potentially one last time here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Tyler Henry alongside Tim Foley. M's looking to close this one out. It will be Dalton Smith taking the hill again. He'll face Garrett Martin to lead it off. And Tim, for the Chatham Anglers, it's do or die time. They either find a way to score 5 runs here at a minimum, or their 2021 campaign is over.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll have to see what these guys are able to pull off against a guy in Smith.
This is not a good start, as this is popped a mile high into the night sky. Drifting over is McDermott, settles under it, has to make a bit of a jump to get it, but he will retire Martin for out number 1.
That's a good first out, and that's what you want if you're a guy in Smith who you need to work quickly and you really start to struggle a bit once these at-bats go longer, once these batters start to see your stuff a bit more, once they settle into the rhythm that you are settling into, the pace you're setting. And so quick outs are exactly what Dalton Smith wants, and it's exactly what he got there in that first batter in Martin.
Certainly. With that being said, he does have the comfort of pitching right now with 4 runs of support, or at least a 4-run lead, rather. 8 runs of support on the night. Gets a first pitch strike across to Lyle Miller Green. Miller Green singled off of him his last time up. Here he'll deliver in strike 2. And he is way out ahead here of the Anglers' first baseman. Dalton Smith has allowed 4 guys to get on base. 3 were with walks. Only 1 hit allowed, and it came from Miller Green back in that 7th inning, who makes it a 1-2 count. And he'll swing and miss. Strikeout number 3 on the day here for Dalton Smith. And Tim, if he gets one more out here, he records the save.
Yep, he's been in. This is his 3rd inning of work, and he's looked good across all of it. Has not given up a single run to this point, and has recorded 3 strikeouts with some relatively efficient innings. Again, it's once he starts giving up hits, starts giving up walks, it's a bit of a waterfall effect, or a domino effect, I should say, as first ball misses outside. So staying ahead of guys and not letting anybody get on to begin with is key.
1-0 to Maxwell Romero Jr. swung on, taken to short. This might do it, but it won't. Preisner bobbles it. It's going to be an E6, and Chatham still alive, but by the slimmest of margins.
Yeah, I mean, that's one we've seen before here, where Preisner's able to come over and make that play, but just eats him up this time around, and Chatham's still alive here.
Chatham again, everything has to be perfect. Jake DeLeo will bat. He does have 2 hits today, officially 2 for 3, also reached on an error. Even if Chatham could find a way to come back and sneak out of here with a win, it would take a monumental effort and a lot of other things to go perfectly right for them to sneak into that second playoff spot. It is impossible for them to take the 1 seed away from the Whitecaps, a team Harwich will try to do just that against in the coming days. And I'm sure we'll talk about it in the wrap-up as well, but brace yourself for an early one tomorrow, folks. 4 o'clock Eastern Time to start at Stony Brook Field as this one's fouled away and Smith works his way back in, 2-1. Smith sets, delivers the 2-1 pitch. That's swung on and taken into right. That'll get down in front of Jordan Beck. Runner's going to turn and head for third. There will be a throw. It might be close. He's going to get him. No! I'm not 100% sure about that, but he is going to be called safe, and that's going to put runners at second and third for Matt Hogan.
That was a laser of a throw from Beck over in right field. The only reason that the tag was not applied was because, or the only reason it wasn't called out was because it just wasn't applied over at third base. It got there with plenty of time, but we didn't have the greatest angle. Sliding in between us and Wilkin was Romero, so couldn't really see where the glove was.
That should be the 9th hit of the day for the Chatham Anglers on the single. They are even with Harwich in hits. They trail the Mariners in runs by 4. Tying run is in the on-deck circle. At the dish now is the aforementioned Matt Hogan, who takes another pitch in the dirt. Count goes to 2-0. And right now, nobody up and warming in that Harwich Mariner bullpen.
And this is exactly what we talked about with Smith. Once it starts to unravel, it really does. I mean, back-to-back guys getting on and a big hit from DeLeo to make this a lot more interesting here.
So Smith will set, comes home with a 2-0 pitch. Big swing and a miss. Coming up empty is Matt Hogan.
You know, and Smith's got to be careful with what he decides on this next pitch here. It's 2-1 count last time where DeLeo was able to square one up into right.
Can't afford that same fate here. You don't want to make it a 2-run ball game. Another pitch that tails away from Hogan, and he evens it up at 2-2.
It's a really nice pitch from the lefty, able to get that one to just fade towards that outside lower corner at 76 miles an hour.
See if Dalton Smith can record the save and send the Chatham Anglers packing. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 away here in the top of the 9th. The pitch. In there, strike 3, that'll do it. Strikeout number 4 on the day. Closes out this game. It'll be a save issued to Dalton Smith, and the Chatham Anglers have been eliminated from playoff contention. But more importantly, the Harwich Mariners are now just 1 win away from clinching a playoff berth with 5 games left to go in the season. We'll step away, but when we come back, we'll be here to wrap it up here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube Network. They get the win, 8-4.
Welcome back to White House Field, where we will look to wrap things up here Once again, the 8-4 victory tonight for the Harwich Mariners over the Chatham Anglers. They eliminate the Chatham Anglers from postseason contention. The season is done. Of course, they will play out the rest of their season, as is the case. And if we take a look at the out-of-town scoreboard very quickly here, as still leading in the, or excuse me, just a moment. Give you the line real quick first for this game. So Anglers able to score 4 runs on 9 hits and 2 errors. Mariners 8 runs on 9 hits and 3 errors. And this does almost wrap up the day for Cape League action. So once again, out-of-town scores: Katuitt beating Wareham 12-5. Falmouth beating Hyannis 13-7. Brewster beating Bourne 3-2. Harwich able to pick up the win here 8-4. And then in the as the game ends over at Eldridge Park, the YD Red Sox able to beat the Orleans Firebirds, so that does eliminate the Orleans Firebirds from playoff contention. So now it's down to a 3-horse race: the Brewster Whitecaps, the Harwich Mariners, and the YD Red Sox. Winning pitcher tonight for the Harwich Mariners, Bo Keithley, able to pick up the win. Dalton Smith picks up the save. And losing pitcher in this one is going to go to Carmucci, as Carmucci, despite the valiant effort going 4 2/3 innings, did give up the 5 runs, each of them being earned. So for the Mariners, they will head on the road tomorrow to Stony Brook. They'll play a 4 o'clock start time against the Brewster Whitecaps before coming home on Sunday to host the Whitecaps at 5:30. They then have a home-and-home with Orleans, going to Eldridge, and then hosting the Firebirds before the season ends next Wednesday at Chatham, a 7 o'clock start time from Veterans Field. But once again, tomorrow, the time to look for 4 o'clock at Brewster. We will be on the call for that one. Tyler Henry, Colin Casey will be bringing you action. Be sure to tune in. For my broadcast partner, Tyler Henry, for social media, Colin Casey, our producer, Matt Lucy, PA, Chris Cassidy, our official score tonight, Biz Layton. Thank you so much for tuning into our coverage of Cape Cod Baseball League action. This has been Tim Foley